Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the International Conference on Modular Integrated Construction 2021. My name is Celeste. I'm your MC today. Thank you. Other than physical attendees here, the conference is now live streaming with 1,000 online audience. And here I would like to thank you for the genuine support from the senior government officials in the CIC event. Modular integrated construction, as known as MIC, has become a trend globally. Today, we are very privileged to have local and international experts to share their views, insights, and ideas on MIC development. Due to the COVID-19, our overseas speakers are not able to join us physically. But now they are joining this dialogue online, so please give them a big round of applause to welcome them. To begin, I would like to invite Mr. Chen Ka-Kui, Chairman of Construction Industry Council, to deliver the welcome speech. Mr. Chen, please.
Permanent Secretary, Engineer Lam, Chairman Kenneth Mo, honorable speakers, MIC colleagues here and also those online all over the world. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at this international conference on MIC 2021, hosted by the Construction Industry Council of Hong Kong. Firstly, I wish you all good health and COVID-19 never bothering you. Hong Kong had our first major conference on MIC in 2018, having experts coming from the Mainland China, the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Singapore to share with us their valuable MIC experience. Hong Kong had learned a lot, and much of the knowledge had been put into use in developing our MIC industry over the last few years. Hong Kong started its MIC journey after being stimulated by a research study on how to enhance construction productivity carried out by the University of Hong Kong in early 2017. Over the last few years, Hong Kong had completed quite a number of interesting MIC pilot projects, including the much-needed COVID-19 quarantine facilities. There are now more than 50 MIC projects at various stages of completion and construction. I'm sure my colleagues in Hong Kong will share with you their experience on these pilot projects in this conference. The knowledge on MIC construction is gradually building up in Hong Kong. According to a study carried out by the University of Hong Kong on the two pilot high-rise MIC projects in Hong Kong, both of them are 17 stories high, one by steel modules and the other one by concrete modules. Both projects had achieved zero accident, achieved substantial saving in time and much less use of water, electricity, and produced far much less construction waste. And both of them were completed to high standard. To me, the most significant benefit of MIC construction to the construction industry and the society as a whole is its assurance of much better construction safety and much less damage to the environment. There is consensus that we have to minimize on-site construction as much as possible if we want to achieve this noble objectives. The pilot projects have reinforced our confidence on MIC construction. Most members of the construction community in Hong Kong are convinced that MIC, DFMA, is the right way forward for the much-needed construction industry reform. For the sake of safety and environmental protection, the international construction community should put hands together to encourage greater use of MIC, greater use of DFMA in our respective countries. Today, we are honored to be able to assemble a great team of MIC experts from mainland China, the United Kingdom, Singapore, Japan, and Hong Kong to share with us their challenges and success on their MIC journey. I have to say a big thank you to them. I think we should organize more events of this to consolidate the effort and knowledge of the international MIC community to make the MIC journey more easy and fruitful for everybody. So let's work together for a safer and greener construction industry, a better world for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Please be seated. Now, may I also invite Engineer Lam Sai Hong, Permanent Secretary for Development Works, Development Bureau, the Government of HKSAR, to deliver the opening remarks. Engineer Lam, please.
Chairman KK, Kenneth, distinguished guest speakers, friends, good afternoon. Really, I'm extremely excited to join the conference here and deliver the opening remark. Excited because this is the first international MIC conference hosted in Hong Kong since the once-a-century pandemic attack. Albert told me that there are actually more than 100 people assembling inside this hall, and MC just told us that more than 1,000 people from different time zones attending the conference online. I have to say hello to those online audience. In the next 10 minutes, I'll run through a relay race relating to MIC development in Hong Kong. I'm sure that after the Tokyo Olympic Games, many of us should be quite familiar with the various games to be played in the Olympic Games and how they are played. Usually, the 100-meter race and the 400-meter relay are extremely attractive in every Olympic game because they represent how fast mankind can run individually or as a team. In particular, the 400-meter relay is the center of the focus as it is meant to represent or to measure the level of the achievement of a country in the track and field sport. To get a good result in a 400-meter relay race, apart from the individual track record of the four runners, the skill of passing the baton between runners is extremely important, as otherwise the entire team effort could easily be ruined. We have seen many failures of very famous relay teams, for example, USA, in important tournaments, just because of the poor passing of the baton. In the relay race for the MIC development in Hong Kong, some surprise elements did occur, which is completely out of our expectation or out of our imagination. While the concept of MIC wasn't new elsewhere, it wasn't introduced to Hong Kong until 2017. At that time, we identified 3 high-rise building projects to pilot this new building technology. As of today, 2 projects were completed and are being occupied. They are the Park Sing Kok FSD staff quarters and the inner cell of the Science Park. For the Hong Kong Youth Student Hostel projects, preparation of module production work is actively underway, and I have been invited to see the mock-up of the module next week. The performance of these 2 completed MIC projects is extremely encouraging, which Chairman KK has mentioned some of the results. Hong Kong Youth kept track of the key data for these projects and concluded at the end of 2020 that significant benefits in terms of program cost, quality, safety, and environmental aspects have been achieved. Clearly, this demonstrates to us that most of the benefits MIC gained elsewhere could equally be captured here in Hong Kong. While we succeed in NIC 1 projects, as reflected by the Hong Kong Youth Study, how we could further promote a wider use of MIC in other projects was still a challenge to us at that time, given the fact that most of our friends in our industry, including clients, consultants, contractors, and even module suppliers, were yet to be given the opportunity of gaining any hands-on local experience in MIC work. Worse still, if we relied on the next batch of the high-rise MIC projects in the pipeline, it would simply take years for MIC to take root in our construction industry. Nobody could foresee that the virus started to spread all over the world since January last year, some 20 months ago. To enhance the quarantine capacity, the Hong Kong SAR government decided to build temporary quarantine camps or units using MIC, although at that time none of the ongoing MIC projects have finished. Since February last year, we have built over 4,000 quarantine units using MIC, with some of them completed as short as 4 weeks, despite the difficulties encountered on site and in the production yard of the supply chain in the midst of the pandemic. The speed of using MIC is really telling, and the quarantine camp product at Lei Yu Mun was highly regarded by the Institution of Civil Engineers of the UK last year. Riding on the success of using MIC in buildings, thousands of quarantine units, we went on to build a temporary hospital with over 800 beds inside negative pressure wards outside the Asia World Expo within 4 months. The speed of construction by using MIC in complex hospital projects is well demonstrated. Actually, this is an unplanned leg of the relay race. Although these quarantine camp or hospital projects are only up to 3-story high, it gives the much-needed real-life experience to our consultants, contractors, and module suppliers, adding confidence to them that, as well as other project clients on MIC work. As a result, not only has the base of the MIC expertise in Hong Kong been substantially broadened, the entire supply chain is also established with the necessary skill, experience, and confidence in meeting the most stringent local standards and requirements. This escalates Hong Kong to a higher platform in undertaking further MIC projects in the Leg 3 of the game. Given the success and experience gained in the Leg 1 and Leg 2 projects, Hong Kong construction industry is more confident now than ever in embarking on the Leg 3 of the MIC relay race, which focuses on high-rise building projects. In front of us, there are around 30 high-rise MIC building projects in our hand, involving a wide variety, including hospital, office, hostels, rental housing, sale housing flats, etc. Reaching the Leg 3 of the race is no easy at all. This would not happen overnight or laterally. It is only after the chemical change resulting from the desire of the entire industry to embrace changes and innovation, the strong steer and facilitation from the government, and the extensive efforts from the Construction Industry Council in promoting MIC from day one of the race. This slide shows the major MIC initiatives that we have introduced since 2017. At present, we are still exploring how to attract more housing projects to use MIC, as we considered this is the key or the only key to our success in the Leg 4 race. For the longer term, there's a host of building projects in the pipeline. I truly believe Hong Kong is best placed as a good test bed for MIC, as the buildings in Hong Kong have to survive under the toughest environmental challenges in the world, such as typhoon, etc. And at the same time, we have a convenient and competent manufacturer base in the Great Bay Area. So I'm confident that Hong Kong possesses the right potential to become a MIC center for the world in the future, or in the near future, showcasing the good application of this building technology to different building uses. When I worked in the high-speed rail project in Hong Kong over a decade ago, I came across a slogan: import, digest, assimilate, we innovate, or in Chinese or in Cantonese, 引進、消化、吸收、再創新, used very frequently by the Ministry of Railways of the Mainland China. This slogan impacted me very much. I hope we MIC practitioners should always bear the spirit embedded in this slogan in pursuing MIC. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a label we often see in our desktop computer. I hope down the road we'll see this label sticking at the main entrance of every MIC building. I hope you enjoy this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Lam. Please be seated. With the great support of the government of HKSAR and the industry, we are very happy to see there are 2 high-rise MIC buildings completed, including the Mary Quarters for the Fire Services Department at Passing Kok at Cheung Kwan O, and also the InnoCell at Hong Kong Science Park. The Mary Quarters for the Fire Services Department is Hong Kong's first high-rise MIC building built with concrete, whereas the InnoCell, which has 17 stories, is Hong Kong's first high-rise building adopting steel MIC. And these pioneering projects have been successfully completed and now in use. May we all give a big hand to the achievement of our industry. Thank you. During the past few years, our industry spares no efforts on the wider adoption on MIC. Before the sharing session, we would like to invite the following guests to come up to the stage and to take a group photo. May I invite Mr. Chen Ka-Kui, Chairman of the Construction Industry Council. Engineer Lam Sai-Hong, Permanent Secretary for Development Works, Development Bureau, the Government of HKSAR. Engineer Kenneth Mo, Chairperson of Joint Working Group on Modular Integrated Construction, Construction Industry Council. Engineer Ricky Lau, Director of Civil Engineering and Development Department, the Government of HKSAR. Ms. Winnie Ho, Director of the Architectural Services Department, the Government of HKSAR. Ms. Alex Pan, Director of Drainage Services Department, the Government of HKSAR. Mr. Calvin Low, Director of Water Supplies Department, the Government of HKSAR. Mr. Pen Yu Hong, Director of Electrical and Mechanical Services Department, the Government of HKSAR. Ms. Eliza Wong, Member of MIC Joint Working Group. Engineer John Kwong, Head of Project Strategy and Governance Office Development Bureau, the Government of HKSAR. Engineer Albert Chen, Executive Director of Construction Industry Council. Engineer Dr. Richard Pang, Director of Industry Development from Construction Industry Council. Architect Daniel Soon, Director of Industry Development from Construction Industry Council. And also our honorable guest speakers. May we all come up to the stage and to take a group photo together. Welcome. Okay, so please look at our cameraman. He's helping us to capture the best moments of today. Thank you everyone. Please be seated. Thank you, all honorable guests. Today, we are honored to have our representatives from HKSAR government and also local project teams and also MIC experts from the mainland China, Japan, Singapore, and UK to join this conference and share the latest trends and development of MIC. To widen the adoption of MIC in Hong Kong, the Development Bureau issued a technical circular on MIC in March 2020. which states that MIC shall be adopted for new building works of 6 building types, including staff quarters, hostels, residential and care homes, schools, office buildings, and medical facilities in upcoming capital works. Now we're entering the first presentation session. May I invite Ms. Winnie Ho, Director of the Architectural Services Department, the Government of HKSAR, to share on her topic, Embracing the Change, an exploratory journey on MIC. Ms. Ho involves in many projects, including the quarantine camps, Northland Town Hospital Hong Kong Infection Control Center using MIC technique. Ms. Ho, please.
Thank you. You should see that I'm so eager to be on stage to share this presentation with you. When I look at the audience, I want to start with a big, warmest thanks to everyone. It's not just an HSD journey. It's a journey of the whole industry. Friends and colleagues, so many familiar faces here in different positions, different organizations, to join us to make this happen. It is a very challenging journey, and equally challenging is put all the information and present it within 20 minutes. So I'll quickly take you through the journey that HSD has gone through. I will show some future projects to come, and I also want to take the chance to tell you what has happened behind the scene within HSD to make this possible. So this year is like a magic year. 2017 and 2018, you have heard about this year many times. On 2018, we have a very, very humble start. We start with a minor work project, which is just a pavilion. You can see that it comes in a box off-site and then open up on-site to form a pavilion. But the small project, this very small project, allow us to understand more about off-site construction and assembling on-site. This is a mobile library that we designed for LCSD. And the next one, we move on, also a very small project. This is a stargazing facility in Sai Kung. It forces us to use fabrication off-site because this is such a remote site. So we use helicopters to put the parts together on-site. And from these small projects, our colleagues start to understand about the concept, and then we have the opportunity to build a staff quarter for the Fire Services Department. And thanks to FSD's, our clients' acceptance of this new type of construction, we have completed this milestone high-rise concrete MIC project in Hong Kong. And we move on. Quarantine camps and the temporary hospital. I won't repeat here how this has helped Hong Kong to walk through and fight the COVID. And what's next? Markets. Because we start to understand this off-site construction, when we do a market in Tin Shui Wai, which is called a Skylight Market, the client wanted to be completed very quickly within 1 year. Normally, it will take us 1.5 years. And then we are forced to think about faster construction, and so we use MIC to construct all these repeated market stores. And we have achieved this target within 1 year. Next one. Residential care home. There are many 6 or 8 bedrooms with a lot of repetition in this kind of facility. And this is now under construction in Gudong. So you can see that we move from minor structure to staff quarter, and then markets, and then the application to elderly homes. Next. Hospitals. You see this image in Mr. Lam's PowerPoint. And this project used another approach, kind of a box-in-box approach. And also, because of the high headroom of the hospital, they separate the modules of a lower module for the rooms and an upper module for the E&M facilities. And thanks to all our partners to think about all these creative solutions of the use of MIC. And then a school which is just started on site with all the classroom being done in MIC. Okay, how to drive this journey and how to keep the momentum going. On idea generation, I am very glad that we have this innovative construction focus group in ASD, which is formed in this magic year, 2018. And that is the time when we know we have to move ahead and think of new ways of construction instead of repeating the old formula all the time. I'm very glad to chair this group, and I'm still chairing the group until now, and I enjoy every meeting by this group. And in this group, we have the directorate officers, professionals, site staff, and our technical officers. At the start, we only have 10 members. And then my colleague is so enthusiastic to get in, and so they volunteer to join in, and now we have more than 40 colleagues. And yesterday, I have another meeting. I start to open up this forum so that all colleagues can join us by Zoom. And yesterday, the participant ranges from 70 to 90. So I hope that this spirit of innovation can spread within the department. And they are from all disciplines and all different grades. And what does this group do? This group is our antenna and radars. They help me to reach out to see what's happening in the world. They bring back good ideas and bring back to the system. We will discuss, we will select, and we will think how to carry out meaningful experiments within the project. It's very similar to Mr. Lam's concept, 引進消化, etc. And we believe in small to big. Start small, start from some easy exercise, understand what's happened, understand the system, and then think about bigger application and wider application of the new technique or new idea. This group also drives a number of studies. We know that we have to do staff quarter with MIC in order to understand the whole structural system and how to divide the modules better. We have a consultancy with a lead by an architect, ADRG, thanks to Bernard and his team. And some are done in-house. When we are talking about the staff quarter, then some people think about, oh, what about the columbarium? There's so many repetitions in columbariums, right? So this study is done by an in-house team. They try to play with the divisions, how to divide these niches together with the structure and E&M facilities. And another one done by the in-house team. When we talk about the columbarium in this innovative group, they inspire the market team. So the market team starts to think, oh, okay, I also have many repetitions in the market stores. And so we can also play with these MIC. And then the schools. The technical circular issued by the Bureau also mentioned about classroom of the schools to be done in the MIC method. So we have another study by a consultant. The lead consultant is Ho & Partners. In this consultancy study, we also have contractors and all other disciplines to help us. And they are very serious about the jointing. So they actually do one-to-one real-size mock-up to see how one unit can join to the other. And then another study with the help of the consultant, Lang Wanggu, Mainland, PNT, Arcadis, and Paul Y. It's a study on the government office. Can we also use these MIC or DFMA concepts in government office? Can the E&M zone integrate with the floor slab above, and they come in one unit, one piece, and put into place. One very exciting study that is coming is a joint study with the help of the Development Bureau, Food and Health Bureau, Hospital Authority, and RHSD. This study was, we have appointed P&T as the lead consultant to think about how MIC can be used in hospitals. There are more challenges and concern of MIC application in hospital because of the operational requirement, long-term maintenance, flexibility, and things like that. So we will do a study to look at all these implications and how to make it work. Okay, on tendering, some hints on our tendering. Many of our MIC projects, we have used design and build approach. And yes, okay. And for contractors here who are interested in our design and build project, you will know that we have adjusted the technical and price ratio from 40 technical to 50 technical. So high mark was given to the technical envelope. And our marking scheme. Our marking scheme is very, very important to encourage and make it MIC conducive. On the quantitative side, we will set requirements on the MIC portion, a percentage. That percentage was done based on our own reference design, and we'll think about what are the areas that is MIC-able. So we will make that a percentage and put it down in the tender. And the types of facilities and the completeness. The contractor are free to propose the MIC, the modular unit, but we would encourage the degree of completeness. The more integration off-site, the better. The more integration off-site, the higher marks. And on the design, we will look at the architectural solution, building services, structure, and also the O&M, because the operation and maintenance is also very important, and how to access with all these modular structures and maybe some of the frames that obstruct the future maintenance and issues like that. On the technical proposal, we will also look at the method statement, the logistic, the delivery, the program. We start to allow contractors to compete on program for quite a number of projects, which is some are now under tendering. We will assign a mark for earlier completion. The earlier, you will get higher marks. So start to think about quicker program, shorter program. And the quality assurance plan is, of course, very important. And in the tender document, we will set a pro forma so that contractor can give us all these information. Say the level of completeness, you will fill in how many type of materials and finishes can be integrated offsite. But of course, our tender assessment team will check all these information. And the factory production is also very important. So in our tender submission, we will ask for information about the factory names, who is your strategic partner, the type of production, what are the capacity of the factory, and also information like any other concurrent works in that factory. Delivery route. We all know that for MIC, the delivery route is very important. So for major MIC project, we will also carry out traffic study for that particular site. How we foresee the MIC is being delivered by sea, by land, we will study several routes. And what will happen along the route, would it go through a tunnel, highway structure with the width and height and things like that, allow certain type of MIC to pass through, and also the custom clearance and all that. Tender briefing. I think tender briefing is very important to make tenderers aware of the important and key points about this tender, what are the things that we see the potential and we want the tenderer to do more. Okay, through this journey, we have developed so much knowledge. And we it's very important for the department to capture the knowledge, to store the knowledge. These knowledge are our treasures. So we treat them like treasures. We have a bank, innovation bank. We use a bank to keep all these treasures. In our bank, we have innovative technology, modular construction, smart facility management, smart site management, and also digitization. And our bank looks something like this. And maybe we can go in and see what's happened under the modular construction. We have a section on DFMA, MIC, and NIMEP. And under each section, we have different building types. Like commercial means government office, leisure culture, and maybe the domestics means a staff quarter to us, and education are the schools. So under each section, if you are working on a school project and you want to find out more information about other school projects, what have they done in the tender, and what are the assessment, the marking scheme in the tender, what are the procurement method, etc., you'll find the information here, and you know which team to contact to share knowledge. Okay, more to come. Queen Mary Hospital. This is the tallest hospital in the world. We have just checked the record on the website. And in this hospital, while the tendering do not require any MIC, the contractor are willing to try this sort of box-and-box construction to build the hospital rooms, some of the hospital rooms. Public toilet. I'm not sure how many of you are aware that there is a design competition. The result was just announced. This is the winning scheme. We call it 次世代 2.0. And the winning scheme, it was inspired by a species called 管水母. And this type of species have different parts that will stick together. And it's a very rare species, so you can check on the website to learn about this species a bit more. But the idea is to plug in this modular unit into different forms, different shapes to fit into different sites. And that is the requirement of this design competition, an MIC solution for the public toilet, which can fit into different sites in Hong Kong, either in a very crowded city site or a very remote countryside site, or very popular cross-border sites. So we will build this building. We will actually make this design competition scheme come true. And looking at the future, we have more schools to come, many repetition of the classrooms. We have more staff quarter to come, more staff quarter units using MIC. And also opportunity in law courts, office building, and markets. For law courts, imagine you have a lot of repetition of the courthouse and the council chamber. They are all repetitions. Can you think about ways like box-and-box and other MIC methods to construct them? The project size ranges from 45 million to 4,600 million. Okay, benefits. I think Chairman KK and our permanent secretary, Mr. Lam, talks about the benefits by figures. The cost, the time saving, and quality and safety. Now, allow me to repeat some of the benefits, and it's a social responsibility to me to take this journey and to take on this journey. This is the challenge to our Earth, right? Climate change, pollution, and waste. You know how much waste our construction industry has created. Figures. Chairman KK has already shown you the figures, but I want to go through the figures with you one by one to see what we can do and we can actually help. Reduction of waste. To compare with a conventional method, the Bak Seng Kok Fire Services Staff Quarter reduced 53% of waste. What does it mean? It means 3 to 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Imagine just one project, you have helped the world to save 3 to 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And the Secretary of Environment will be very, very happy about his landfill sites, the pressure on his landfill sites. Another figure is electricity. It will save 68% of electricity. For the Baxingok project, it means $1.2 million bills to the electric company, and that means a 3-person family for 1 month. Water. I don't know, I don't realize that we use so much water for conventional construction. If you change to MIC, you can save 66% of water. That means 10 Olympic-sized swimming pool. 10 Olympic-sized swimming pool water. You help the world to save that. Okay, imagine we can build our city like this. Well, this is maybe too much for us to go this far within a few years, but imagine we can embrace the change and make it your chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ho. Please be seated. Next, we will have Engineer K.L. Tam, Director of the University of Hong Kong Estate Office, to share with us on the topic of upcoming Hong Kong U MIC projects, High West and other Hong Kong U MIC projects. For over 30 years in the University of Hong Kong, Engineer Tam managed various large-scale of development projects. May I now invite Engineer Tam, please.
Okay, thank you for CIC to provide me such a chance to share the MIC Hong Kong U project's experience. The site I want to talk about is, we call it High West. That is locating at the Port Forum area. The original site has the one historical building, and also the existing staff quarter, tennis court as well. What we want to do is we actually have to construct 2 towers, 19-story student hostel to house 938 people. And we estimate there will be 720 MIC units. And the existing staff quarter is also to be replaced by the other 2 new staff quarters. These 2 towers, 20-story high, and providing 266 numbers of flats. We estimate there will be over 1,200 MIC units. Along with it, you also have to build with the traditional method for a podium to providing parking space, clubhouse, and other facilities. Okay, let's talk about our student residents. Now, this is our second MIC project for Hong Kong U. And how is this different from the first one, the Wong Chuk Hang? Okay, in the Wong Chuk Hang case, okay, because at that time we don't have that MIC concept. And the building itself is designed with a conventional method. And then later, we changed it, and in this High West project, we are starting with the MIC concept. One of the major differences for the first project, actually we have used the shared laboratories. And also but for the High West, okay, we have a semi-on-site. Now, for the first MIC project, Hong Kong U, we're starting with a conventional construction design first. And then through the process, we try to modularize the student rooms, enlarge the core walls, and also revise the toilet design in order to make it suitable for MIC construction. But for our second MIC project, we actually are design strictly starting from the MIC, which you can see a big difference. Okay, in the new design, our second MIC project, you can see we have totally only have make 8 types of a module system. And all the unit size are basically the same width. Actually, that will reduce the construction price a lot. And the finishes for it is basically to the highest standard allowable by the public money. Okay, as you can see from the top class student hostels. Those are the finishes you can see. For our staff quarter, we intended to be the first MIC project. If not the first one, it should be the first batch of MIC project for residential buildings. And also wanted to be a pilot project to showcase the private housing. So we also want to review the design issues from it. Okay, as you can see from the plan, it's decided with the MIC concept. And also, we're also providing the balcony to the development as well. So there will be totally 10 module system here altogether. And even though we have 2 different widths, but we can produce all the units on the same production line. We are always, in many occasions, talking about the 4 principles. Repetitively, competitiveness, wage, and fully furnished. Okay, and we'll be providing 3 types of size, different size of bedroom. 1,070, over 700, and also 600 something for 2 bedroom as well. This is very typical for the private development. And the finish is also comparable to the private development market. Okay, for the procurement of this MIC project, what is the major difference from our first one? For both projects, we provide briefing to the potential tenders openly. For the first MIC project, I think most of the tenders, they are feeling reluctant to submit the tenders. But for this one, we have a very keen competition and a very good response from the tender. And for our first project, the UI, we just have 9 companies showing the interest to submit the tenders. And for this one, we have a 36 number of tenders. They express their interest to submit the tenders. Now, after all the shortlisting, in the first case, we only have a slide, so we shortlist all. And in the second case, okay, in a high-rise site, actually we can shortlist 13 numbers of tenders from the submissions. Okay, and eventually, for our one-time project, we actually have 9 tenders. And for the High West, we have 10 tenders invitations. And also we have the Q&A session before they submitting a tender to all the tenders. And there's quite a number of questions come from the tenders. And in the first case, they don't ask much questions. Eventually, either in the first case or second case, there's totally 8 submissions on the tenders. For the High West case, because 2 of the company, they are in joint venture to submit the tenders, and only 1 declined. Okay, in the tender assessment, we consider, in the first case, only half of the tender submission are technically competent. But on our second case, the MIC project, all we consider all the tenders are technically capable to deliver the job. So what's our result? On the cost side, okay, the lowest S2 submission actually lower than our pretended estimation, and the other 6 are actually higher than that. Okay, the lowest submission is actually 8%, lowest than the estimation, and then the other one is 4% lower. The other are basically 3 to 15% higher than the estimation. So how's comparing with the unit price of the others? Now, comparing with our first MIC project, the unit cost of this project are a little bit higher. But bear in mind that the steel price has been rising a lot since then. And then also, we have a different design. As I mentioned to you, they have the shared toilet for the Wong Chuk Hang, and then we have one street for the high rest. So it will be higher in cost. But when we're comparing with the other student hostel to build on the same time, using the conventional method, we are at least 8% lower. For the staff quarter, we're comparing also with other private developers. And you can see our price is roughly 15% lower than the conventional method. Now, in terms of time, because we believe the MIC will have time saving, so we reduce 8 months when comparing with the conventional construction method. And we also, because we believe we can reduce further on the construction time. So in the tenders, we actually invite the tenderer to submit a proposal to further reduce the contract period. Okay, in this submission, you can see the highest offer is we can have a 6-month saving. And then you have to look, the only one, they say that there's no saving on, further saving on time. Okay, most of them range from 1 month to 6 months. And eventually, for the tender award, we have a 5-month further saving. That means comparing with the conventional construction method, we save 3 months, 13 months. Okay, so comparing the 2 projects, Wong Chuk Hang, 7% saving, High West, 8% saving. In terms of time, 25% saving in the Wong Chuk Hang case, and on the High West case, 20% saving. But how about quality? Well, we believe MIC is a way to improve the quality control. Then how we are going to control the quality? Our team is actually studying a modern way to control the quality. Now here is the keywords. The tools we are going to use the quality for production of the site, the BIM, GIS, IoT, and blockchain. Okay, we believe if you want to make the project a success, the client must have the knowledge about the suitability, about the project planning, procurement strategy, and also the design consideration. For the architect, they have to know about the design, make sure statutory compliance, and also the logistic planning. And contractor, manufacturing, assembling, logistics. Okay, so MIC knowledge is required for all the parties. Okay, as far as you want to have a successful MIC project. Planning, design, the construction, procurement, construction, and also the maintenance. So that means the team have to have the full knowledge about the MIC. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Tam. Please be seated. Next, we are pleased to have Mr. Alan Tan, Managing Director of United Tech Construction Private Limited from Singapore, to share with us on the topics of updates on PPVC development at Avenue South in Singapore, challenges of the soon-to-be tallest MIC building. Mr. Tan has successfully implemented PPVC in the residentials, hotel, and healthcare projects, including and then world's tallest PPVC project of 40 stories. Please enjoy Mr. Tan sharing through a video presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone in Hong Kong. My name is Alan Tan. I'm from Singapore. Thank you very much. Today, CIC Hong Kong invited me today to share my PPVC experience in Singapore. Now, today my topic is a bit unique and specific. I'm going to use a case study project to illustrate the experience that we have in doing PPVC in one of the high-rise projects in Singapore. The project name is called Avenue South Residence. In short, we call ASR projects. Now, before I begin, I would like to share what is the project all about. Now, this project is comprising of two 56-story PPVC towers. It has also have 5 conservation blocks to be upgraded. There is also a communal park to be constructed surrounding the developments. Altogether, there is a total of 1,074 apartment units and a childcare center. There is a 2 basement and 3 multi-story car park. The client for the project is UOL. This is a very prominent client in Singapore. My contract is a design and build contract with a contract value of 206 million USD. Now, I sort of summarize the project that we face in these projects into 3 categories: design, construction, and obviously COVID-19 challenge. Now, let's start off with design challenge. Now, first of all, I must explain a little bit how design works in Singapore. Now, in Singapore, our design of any new project is always governed very much by the authority and the land sale document. Normally, it's quite rigid and quite difficult to compromise. The government normally have prescribed clearly what they want for a particular parcel of land, and the design is also very much firm up in their mind what they want to develop. So there's very little room for negotiation. So in these particular projects, there are 4 specific areas I would like to summarize that has a significant impact on PVC construction. Now, they are, first of all, because it was required to build this 56-story in PPVC method. This makes this project very challenging. As you all know, today, the tallest record in the world is only 44 stories in London. Now, in Singapore, we have built previously the tallest, the 40-story. So all of a sudden, the government is introducing a 56-story PVC project. And in RC construction method, it's actually quite challenging for us because the taller you go, you require a thicker shear wall. You have to look into the higher wind load pressure for the building of this height. And also in Singapore regulation, when you build a super high-rise building, such as this 56-story, there are requirements for you to introduce a refuse floor. This is for in case of fire, we call it refuse floor. Now in this project, because of the height, we require to build 2 refuse floor. Now what this refuse floor affecting PVC? Because it has to be built in construction method, the normal construction method. Therefore, it has an impact on PVC construction. Now, in this particular project, there is also a regulation to require us to introduce a 36-story sky garden. Now, because of the conservation house and the trees, the footprint of the tower has reduced. So this, together with the car park requirement, also has a very profound effect on the PVC construction. Now, these two I can explain later when I explain the construction challenge. Now, what is the main construction challenge? The first challenge, obviously, is the unprecedented height, 56 story. You know, this is something unprecedented. We have in Singapore, had never built before of such height. And neither, I think, the world has ever built a 56 story. I would say this is the first time. Now, when you build a 56 story, there are 3 criteria that you have to look into during construction. First, do you have a suitable crane to carry such a heavy weight of 35 tons average? Now, I have searched through the whole world. All the crane manufacturers, sad to say, there was no particular crane manufacturer in the world that have specifically manufactured crane to cater for PPVC construction. Unfortunately, that is the scenario. So what I have done is I have done a lot of due diligence. I've gone through with China manufacturer, I've gone through the Liebherr, the best crane manufacturer in Germany. At the end, they're a big round circle. It seems we have no choice. We have to adopt a crane from China called Zoom Lion. This crane is about 60 ton capacity. It had never tested for PVC of 56 story height before. But that was the situation we was in. Okay, and the other challenge is same thing. We cannot find operator who are very skilled and experienced in handling a PVC lifting to such a height before. So my solution was I got back my old operator who has previously worked with me on the 40-story Clementi canopy projects. And this is the best operator I could secure in Singapore. And this is the picture of the guy. Typical Singaporean, very motivated, very excited to create this new world record. Now, the other challenge is lifting a module to such a height of 56 story, which is equivalent to about 200-meter high, under the heavy wind load situation. How does it affect your installation of the module? This has, again, ladies and gentlemen, has never tested before in our history of PVC construction. So you can imagine it was very challenging journey for us in PVC construction of such a difficult projects. Now, because this project is quite large, in fact, we have a total of about 3,034 modules. I believe this is the biggest PVC project with such a large number of modules. Now, you want to complete such a large number of PVC modules in a short and productive duration. Obviously, the construction of the carcass and the mold fabrication is very important. What I have adopted for this project is I decided to go for 3D module construction. 3D means you do it in 6-sided. The reason I go for this 6-sided is because it can reduce my factory space so that I can have more space for storage of module. Secondly, 3D also give a more precision and quality of finishes if you do it correctly. But then the challenge is in our Singapore experience. Actually, we have until now have never done the 3D module construction successfully so far. So when we decided to go for this option, it was a very challenging, as it was a very a gamble situation. But of course, it was with a bit of calculated risk. We believe we can do it, and that's why we go for it. Now, because of this project of such large size, we also have built a specific fit-out factory in Singapore for this particular project. As you can see the picture on the right-hand bottom. You can see from the picture here, it's very challenging instead for the substructure stage, isn't it? This picture explains quite a lot. Before you build the PVC construction, the challenge of your substructure is already very challenging. Because of the huge basement car park, a deep basement car park that you require to cater for many parking lots, and also because of the constraint of the conservation building. This conservation building actually sitting on a pad foundation. There's no piling. So during the construction of the substructure, it was very challenging. You need to be very slow and steady and safe and step-by-step sequence of construction. Now, PPC construction is always related to logistics. In these particular projects, we were a bit unfortunate. The project actually has one access, which is a very narrow access, which is not ideal at all for PVC construction. So what was our solution? Our solution was we decided to apply to the government to widen one of the main road, which is called Kampong Baru Road here, so that we could create another separate logistic access to the development site. As you can see from this layout here, what we have done, we have created a two-way traffic for a daily delivery of all the modules coming throughout the duration of 15 months. And because of this logistic arrangement, the tower crane has to be located on this side of the building so that it can reach the storage area for block 1 here and the storage area for block 2. So all in all, this involves a lot of serious thought about the planning. You have to plan it correctly and make sure it's work, because PVC, if you plan wrongly, it will be very disastrous, because we are talking about heavy module, we are talking about heavy crane. You need to be absolutely right in your planning. And obviously, this, under the circumstances of this project, this was probably the best planning we could think of. Now, PVC construction is always talking about speed and productivity. Now, in the present of a 36-story sky garden, which is triple volume, and has to be built in situ method, you can imagine this has a very big disruption on our PVC progress. You can imagine you stack your module, you build up your momentum, you are progressing very well. Then all of a sudden, you are asked to stop temporarily for 1 month plus because you have to build this sky garden. So you can see it's very disruptive. In fact, it's also very not cost effective as well. What are you going to do with the module that you fabricated in the factory? You have to stockpile them. And what going to happen to your worker who is doing the installation every day? They have to wait for 1 month. What do they do? So for our case here, what we have done is we have redeployed this worker to help on the sky garden construction as well. I.e., we make them multitask. While waiting for the sky garden or PVC to be resumed, we make use of them. Obviously, they are not very productive. and it does affect the PVC progress a bit, but this is no choice. Now, COVID-19 has always been a challenge to every part in the world. In Singapore is also no exception. I would say in Singapore we are more worse hit because of our dormitory problems. All in all, you can see the event here from China lockdown all the way to today, our dormitory problem. In Singapore, we are average lost about 3 to 6 months of productive month in construction. So this project has no exception. We have about 3 to 6 months delay and disruption. Now, having gone through all the challenges and all the constraint and disruption of COVID-19, where we stand today, these projects. Now, I'm pleased to say that we are today one tower already reaching 50 floor. We have today have installed about 2,500 modules. We are now targeting Tower 1 will finish all the module by December 2021. And in the beginning of January 2022, the other tower will be completed as well. And we reckon with the speed that we are going, and hopefully there's no more COVID-19 disruption. This project, together with the conservation house, it should be able to complete by February 2023. Now, in conclusion, I must say, to build a 56-story PVC project, it was very unprecedented and very challenging instead for us in Singapore. Whether in design, whether in construction, whether in logistics, and this is on top of COVID-19 challenge. I'm pleased that my team, as you can see from the photo, have done a good job. Despite all this challenge, we have managed to progress quite well in a space of short period. And all this success must credit to team effort. And obviously, the main key point here is our client trust and confidence in us, throughout the journey of our success so far. And thank you very much for our client. And I also want to share here a few points. First point is, I think using RC PVC method, it has tested to a new limits today. And I believe RC PVC construction method, it can be used. It's proven, as you can see from these projects. It is also possible to do it in 3D module. That will give you better productivity, better quality. I am confident with the current team and the effort that they have put. This Avenue South resident project will be able to complete successfully in the near future to come. And hopefully, this will create a new world record for Singapore, particularly, and for us, Asian as a whole. We prove to the world that we can build something which is also can create a world record. It doesn't matter we don't get an Olympic gold. But I think PPVC, we've done a good job. And we prove to the world we can do a world record projects. And I hope you guys in Hong Kong can do likewise like us in Singapore. I believe you have a lot of talented people in Hong Kong. I'm very confident you guys in the future will similarly like Singapore in your success on your MIC journey. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Tan, for the detailed sharing on the development on PPVC in Singapore. Next, we'd like to have Mr. Zhang Yi, Assistant President of China State Construction Engineering Hong Kong Limited, to share with us on the topic of MIC technologies in medical facilities, Chinese Medicine Hospital. With profound experience in MIC R&D and application, last year, Mr. Zhang led his team to complete the first operated MIC project in Hong Kong. So may I invite Mr. Zhang, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to have an opportunity to sharing the topic from quarantine centers to hospitals, MIC technologies in medical facilities. There are 3 parts on today's agenda. Owing the advancement of technology and the labor shortage, there has been a rapid development of projects using MIC worldwide in recent years. And academia and the stakeholders are exploring to achieve wider adoption of MIC in the construction industry. As we know, the hospital is one of the most complicated building types, large scale with multi-functions, multi-departments, complex BS systems, and the concentrations of people-oriented, humanization, sustainable development, and so on. So the traditional hospital design and construction usually takes several years. However, during the outbreak of COVID-19, there is an overwhelming demand for these additional medical facilities. The pandemic has disrupted operations and the services at every level of government as decision makers focus on response and recovery. Fortunately, we have the DFMA and MIC that can help us to build medical facilities rapidly with high quality and help our cities and lives to recover. Academia and the stakeholders are actively exploring the wider adoption of MIC in medical facilities. Around the world, modular construction is on the rising trend, in particular within the healthcare industry. In Hong Kong, we have successfully applied DFMA and MIC in 3 types of medical facilities projects. The first type is quarantine center. One of the most respected projects is the temporary quarantine facilities, Site A, at Lehman Park. Site A is the first purpose-built quarantine facilities in Hong Kong in early 2020. When the first COVID-19 outbreak hit Hong Kong, it has then become the design template for subsequent quarantine facilities and set a benchmark for speedy construction in Hong Kong. This is a double bed unit. This is the single bed unit. We're fully concerned the needs of users and complied with the requirements of Hong Kong infection control. We creatively designed and adopted 20 anti-cross infection design details. This detail design had attracted the CE's concern. In our quarantine center project built later, we further improved the design of MIC habitable unit. It contains effective anti-infection measures, adopts a self-supporting steel structure. Apart from habitable units, we have other MIC units, including medical posts and staff quarter. The second type is IDC, how fast can a hospital be built in Hong Kong? The answer is in 4 months. The design and construction of Hong Kong ICC only took 120 days. With support from the central government and credit to the collaborative efforts of Shenzhen and Hong Kong governments and the various stakeholders, we successfully completed the impossible mission. Thinking out of a box was crucial to the success. Well, it is the world's first hospital with all MIC negative pressure isolation wards, and also the Hong Kong's first hospital built by MIC. One of the key factors for the success of the project is the application of MIC technologies. As shown on this slide, the wards can be standardized with MIC units, while the central service core in yellow is of steam frame system by DFMA. Athena 3 is a 6-bed electric pressure isolation ward with 8 meters in width, 10 meters in length, and 3.9 meters in height. It is composed of 3 MIC units with a total weight of nearly 80 tons. The design parameters are fully compliant with HTM and the relevant standards for hospital electric pressure wards. So here is showing the division of the MIC modules. 3 units are forming as a ward. The upper MiMEP is already integrated into it. The MIC units were delivered from Zhuhai to Hong Kong by cargo ships and container trucks. Actually, apart from Athena 3, we have already developed another 2 advanced negative pressure isolation wards, namely Athena 1 and Athena 2, both of which are optional single or double beds and are more suitable for traditional hospitals. Okay, let's have a look at the third type, general hospital. What we want to showcase in this part is that not all MIC units are self-supporting. We have more types. Here is the CMH and the GCMTI, the Hong Kong's first Chinese medicine hospital. In this project, we have actively promoting the adoption of MIC to a higher level. In order to suit the needs of various types of rooms, we have developed a digital MIC library, compiling over 100 types of modular units. Among all the MIC unit types, the ward and the operation theater are the most special. They are installed inside the frame of main structure and separated into the MIC and MIMEP units. More consideration is given to size constraints. This is a standard MIC ward. This is a MIC OT, Aurora. Regarding the installation method, we have also made some innovations. The use of leafing is a basic method. We have another method, slide-in. Let's see how they work with animations. Okay. We have conducted intensive in-house R&D focusing on the modular units, such as ward, OT, lab, pharmacy, radiology. And our goal is to build modular hospitals effectively by combining all these modular units. Due to the special features of modern hospitals, we need to consider more factors when applying MIC technologies, something like larger space span, sensitive to vibration, noise, infection control, higher requirements for cleanliness and air tightness that leads to adopt various FPEs. So we must pay attention that the standard and the requirements for medical planning and design is extremely high for MIC to be applied in medical facilities. In addition, these factors also lead to be concerned: approval process, production, transport, construction, and finally, the cost. Talking about the significance of MIC in medical facilities, we should realize that it is still at the start. Though trial and error in the application, and most importantly, with acceptance of imperfection by the industry, these new technologies will gradually become mature. MIC is not only developed to resolve the urgent problems currently faced by our society, that is the shortage of medical facilities to fight the COVID-19, but also is developed for the future of the construction industry. Nowadays, we are moving fast to a new area of industrialization of construction industry by utilizing MIC with digitalization, as well as the synergy of supply chain. Owing to feasibility, mobility, adaptability of construction by MIC, we can ensure the resilience to the healthcare system during extreme events, including COVID-19. More importantly, China aims to reach a carbon peak by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality nationwide by 2060. It is widely known that the construction industry is the main sector of final energy consumption and carbon dioxide emissions. MIC helps to reduce carbon emissions during the full life cycle of a building, from design to demolition stage. Therefore, no matter in medical facilities or other types of construction, let's work together to actively promote the more mature development and wider adoption of MIC technologies through more innovation and practice. That's all my sharing today. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Please be seated. Next, we'll have Mr. Peter Jiang, President of Shandong Modular Construction Technology Company Limited from Mainland China, to share with us on the topic of MIC development in Mainland China, earthquake-resistant high-rise MIC building, and QA/QC of modern MIC factories in the Mainland China. Mr. Jiang has over 23 years of successful overall management working experience in the manufacturing industry. Please enjoy Mr. Zhang's sharing through the video presentation. As Mr. Zhang will present in Mandarin, bilingual subtitles will be provided.
各位同仁，下午好。 我是来自中国内地的江培刚。今天我给大家分享一下集成模块建筑在中国内地的发展。我在中国内地从事制造业全面管理23年多，其中包括8年的集成模块建筑的全面管理经验。从2012年开始，包括集成模块建筑的工厂生产、装配和现场的搭建。今天分享的内容主要包括2个部分：高层抗震集成模块建筑在中国内地的发展，集成模块建筑工厂生产的品质保证和品质管控。高层抗震集成模块建筑在中国内地的发展分2个部分：集成模块建筑在中国内地的落地，集成模块建筑在中国内地未来发展的思考。集成模块建筑在中国内地落地之前，我们做了很多计算、分析和试验。下面这个是我们对集成模块建筑抗震性能做的有限元分析。这个是 X 方向大震实声波作用下标准楼层板受压、受拉损伤的一个典型的分布。这个是 Y 方向的一个受压、受拉损伤的一个典型的分布。从有限元分析的结果来看，集成模块建筑的抗震性能是非常优越的，优于传统线雕建筑。同时，集成模块建筑在中国内地落地之前，我们做了很多的试验，包括抗震试验、防火试验、防腐、保温、隔热、隔音试验等等。那左边这个是我们做的1:4局部模型振动台试验，右边是一个1:8的整体振动台模型试验。这2个试验都是基于一个18层的一个住宅项目。那试验结果是非常完美的，通过了9度的抗震台试验，结果模型依然完好无损，充分印证了集成模块建筑的抗震性能。这个是我们对集成模块建筑墙体竖向载荷重塑能力做的一个试验，分平面内加载和平面外加载，结果也是非常完美的，通过了试验的验证。同时，集成模块建筑在中国落地之前，因为是一个全新的体系，当时我们是做了很多的专家论证。为什么做专家论证呢？是因为集成模块建筑是一个新的东西，新的体系，在中国内地当时没有标准，没有验收的依据，所以我们是通过专家论证的形式来论证的。专家论证的内容主要包括一个结构、防腐、防火、抗侧力、抗风等各个方面的一个论证。那试验论证的结果也是通过的。那同时我们做了很多的标准，包括我们的企业标准，包括我们的省标。那做这些标准的目的有2个，一个是保证我们集成模块建筑的质量，另外一个是便于集成模块建筑的验收。这个是我们做的一个 CSS 标准，中国工程建设标准协会的一个标准。这个标准是在全国范围内统用的。那有了这个标准，就意味着我们在中国内地所有省份都可以建设集成模块建筑。接下来我们分享一下集成模块建筑在中国内地落地的项目。集成模块建筑在中国内地落地了很多的项目，我们今天主要分享2个。第一个，港南路工作坊项目。我们右边这个照片就是港南路工作坊正在搭建的照片。港南路工作坊项目总共有7栋建筑，每一栋建筑是7128平米，主体结构是模块结构，每一栋建筑是18层。开始日期是2014年12月，结束日期是2016年的8月。这个是我们集成模块建筑现场搭建过程当中的照片。我们看到左边这个照片有2个核心层，这栋建筑正好搭建到了一半，这个是一个模块正在吊装。那我们用的是履带雕进行吊装的。右边这个照片是搭建完成的照片，我们看到我们整个搭建过程是不用脚手架的，我们用的是升降爬梯。 左边这个图就比较直观了，这两个高的灰色的是预先做好的钢筋混凝土核心筒，下面这个是我们的模块，模块是围绕核心筒进行搭建的，我们用这一个履带雕进行吊装的。右边这个是我们基础模块建筑现场吊装过程的一个动画的一个照片。接下来再分享一下我们另外一个项目泰兴项目。这个项目是一个商品房，总共有4栋建筑，每栋建筑是8230平米，主体结构也是模块结构，每栋建筑是16层。项目开始的日期是2017年的10月，结束日期是2018年的6月。那我们看到这个项目的工期比刚刚分享的港南路工作坊项目工期短很多。因为港南路工作坊是我们第一个项目，从这个项目的工期来看，基础模块建筑确实能够缩短工期，基础模块建筑的工期是传统建筑的1/3。这个是我们模块运到现场搭建之前的一个照片，我们的品质人员正在对模块进行检验，看一下运输过程当中有没有一些开裂、其他损伤的情况。右边是正在搭建过程当中的照片，已经搭建到第3层了。我们看到这个项目的核心筒用的是钢框架中心支撑核心筒，这样核心筒和模块就可以同时搭建了，大大缩短了基础模块建筑的工期，真正的能做到1天1层。这个是已经搭建完成的照片，我们看到我们外立面的外保温基本上也已经做好了。那我们外保温用的是生煎扒皮，整个过程是没有脚手架的。同时我们基础模块建筑不止可以用于住宅项目，高层的住宅还可以用于一些其他的一些更建的项目，1层、2层的项目。这个是我们用于一个1层的更建的项目。这个是我们一个派出所办公大厅的一个项目，我们也是模块结构。这个项目的特点是它的跨度比较大的，我们看到这个厅是比较大的，就像一个教室一样，这也说明了我们基础模块建筑也适合于大跨度的一些空间。基础模块建筑的预制装配率，我们今天主要分享一下2个项目的集成模块建筑的预制装配率。左边这一个就是我们刚刚分享的泰兴项目的预制装配率。这个是我们江苏省住建厅评估是它的预制装配率是98.19，右边这个是我们南京的一个项目，预制装配率是84.02。这都是江苏省住建厅做的评估。这2个项目的预制装配率为什么不一样？是因为它用的核心筒不一样。泰兴项目用的是钢结构核心筒，右边是用的钢筋混凝土核心筒。预制装配率是一个什么概念？说的简单一点，预制率就是在工厂生产的构件和构件总数量的一个比值，装配率就是预制构件和同类构件的一个比值。集成模块建筑的运输，这个是我们模块建筑出厂之前的一个照片。我们看到我们模块建筑也不只局限于一个巨型的，这个是异形的模块。这个是运到工地等待卸车的一个照片。集成模块建筑在中国内地发展的一个未来思考。其实我们集成模块建筑在中国内地已经落地了很多项目，所以技术方面已经不是问题。第二个，集成模块建筑装配式建筑，其实所有的装配式建筑它的成本和传统线条对比都会有一个成本的增量。一般这个增量每平米会在200到600元人民币之间。这个增量就是说，装配式建筑它的建人成本每平米会比传统线条建筑高200到600。我们集成模块建筑，我们汲取了机械加工业、汽车制造业的一些经验，把我们的成本降低了约3%，差不多就是每平米600元人民币。 那这样的话，我们集成模块建筑的成本就和传统现浇建筑持平，基本上一样。第二大部分，集成模块建筑工厂生产的品质保证和品质管控。集成模块建筑总体来讲，从结构上来讲，集成模块建筑的质量比传统现浇的要还好很多，因为集成模块建筑在设计的时候就已经考虑到了模块的运输、吊装这些苛刻的条件，在现场一旦搭建完成之后，那所有的墙体就是一个整体，地面是一个整体，所以它的性能会非常好。另外，集成模块建筑是在工厂里生产，它的品质更容易管控。我们在工厂生产的时候，我们会每一道工序都会有一个标准的作业程序，有专业的品质人员对每一道工序进行检验，真正把质量控制在过程当中。那么集成模块建筑的生产，我们分成了很多的工序，每一道工序都会有一个标准的作业程序 SOP， 同时我们每个过程都会有相关的品质人员进行把控，像我们的原材料有进料检验进行把控，我们的生产过程有过程检验对质量进行把控，我们的成品有出货检验对产品的质量进行把控。那这个下面这两个照片是我们的墙体做完之后，流水线上线开始进行混凝土浇筑的工序的开始。那同时我们集成模块建筑我们生产，我们是采用了很多先进的一些数字化的一些加工方式，像我们这个我们用的方管，那我们会用的一些数控秤床对方管进行称控，那效率就会非常高，精度也是非常高，质量的一致性也是非常好的。那这个像我们的下料，我们是用一个数控带下料，保证下料的长度。我们板材我们是用的一个数控的一个激光切割机进行下料，那效率会非常高，质量会非常好，非常稳定的。那我们的焊接，我们标准件我们用的是机器人焊接的，那这个都是我们生产过程当中的一些照片。这个是我们的墙体的轻型混凝土的浇筑，那我们的墙体轻型混凝土浇筑，我们是有一个全自动的流水线，那我们的上面有一个全自动的搅拌站，我们下面总共就有4个工人，不管我们的产量多大，那我们这条线只有我们4个工人。那这个是我们已经浇完轻型混凝土的墙体，这个等待送到养护窑里面进行养护。这个是我们模块组装平台，那我们是整个的模块组装是在一个平台上来进行组装的，这个平台我们每月校正一次精度，保证了我们集成模块的装配的质量。这个是我们集成模块建筑我们地面混凝土地面的一个浇筑的一个工序，我们地面的混凝土是在这边浇筑的。那我们看到我们整个的现场还是非常好的，我们浇筑是用的商品混凝土，用泵车直接通过门洞和窗洞对地面进行浇筑的，整个浇筑过程当中是不需要模板的，因为我们模块的墙体就是模板。那我们集成模块建筑我们的生产流水线，我们的生产流水线是全自动的，我们用了很多智能化的一些设备，包括我们的物料的运送，我们用的是这种 AGV 的，是不需要人来操作的 AGV 小车，自动取料送料放到指定的工位，整个过程不需要人。那我们的流水线也是全自动的，左边这个是我们一个流水线的一个触摸屏，那流水线的工作状态从触摸屏上都会看得到的。右边这个是我们全自动流水线的一些执行部件，这个是我们已经做好的模块，等待装修的一些模块。那我们的装修就在这个车间来完成的。我们看到我们的窗户都已经装好的，那我们所有的材料都处在每道工序的边上，这样缩短了工人取材料的一个时间，提高了一个生产的效率。这个是我们已经装修好的模块，我们看到左边这一个就是一个客餐厅连在一起的，我们看到我们的地面的瓷砖石材， 包括我们电视的背景墙、增压空调，包括我们的灯具都是已经装配好的。右边这个是我们的一个厨房，我们看到我们的橱柜、厨具都是装好的。那左边这一个是一个电视的背景墙，我们看到我们的软包的背景墙、开关插座都是已经做好的。那这个项目的这个背景墙两面是一个拉丝的玻璃，从地面到顶面的一个拉丝玻璃。那经过运输、吊装到现场都不会有开裂的，那说明我们集成模块建筑它的刚度也是非常好的。集成模块建筑在中国内地的发展，在1年之前，当我们跟别人讲到模块建筑的时候，那这个时候我可能要花半小时的时间来跟别人解释什么是模块建筑。现在不需要了，现在其实在中国内地，我们提到模块建筑，大家都知道什么是模块建筑了，也不需要解释了。另外一个，中国内地的政府也正在大力推广集成模块建筑，其中拿地的时候也把装配式建筑作为一个条件。另外一个，中国的市场是非常巨大的，因为中国的面积、中国的人口是非常大，所以集成模块建筑在中国的体量市场是非常的巨大。那我今天分享的内容就这么多，谢谢大家。
Thank you, Mr. Jiang. In this session, may I first begin to invite an authorized person and a registered structural engineer to share the topic with us. We are pleased to have Mr. Billy Tam, Director of Thomas Chow Architects, a veteran of Hong Kong architect, and also Mr. Wilson Chern, Director of Wilson and Associates. May I now invite two of them to have sharing with us. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So thank you so much for inviting us. This is such an honor and pleasure. And Wilson, so this is a very good chance for us to talk about the MIC sharing some of experience.
Yeah, hi, Billy. Also, we are really happy here. And as you are AP and I am RSC, so we are the twins for the MIC project, right?
Yes.
We are the key consultant. So today we are happy to give some experience here and then some insight to everybody here, and then share our experience also. Okay?
Yes. So actually, I know that Wilson, you are very, very busy on a lot of MIC projects. So would you mind to start with sharing some of the experience, some of the projects to share with us?
Okay. So today I would like to share my experience. This is the first important things. We have involved in many MIC projects, both in design and build project. Here with some Lok Sin Tong, which is at Song Wong Toi. This project is completed at January of this year. And the second project is Lam Cheung. And Lam Cheung is also a transitional housing project, which is completed last year and already moved in. So the third project is the fourth project is mentioned. This is a housing society project, which is elderly fed, and the fourth project is called Hawei, which is a transitional housing project, which is a large scale, about 2,000 MIC unit project. So this four project we involved in design and build role for this project. Besides design and build project, we also involved some MIC consultant project. This is Dong Tao. which is also another large-scale transitional housing project, which is involved 1,800 MIC units. And Hong Kong University High-West Site Development Project, which is KL already introduced the detail. We also involved in the MIC consultant. And also primary school at Chin Wan West, which is HSD development project. We also as a MIC consultant. So this is our experience for the MIC project. And I think you have also involved in MIC design also?
Yes, I do have, and I'm lucky enough to be participating in some of the transitional housing projects. This is one of them. This is the one in Yinghua Street in Sham Shui Po, which is in Kowloon area. And interesting thing, it is like in the heart of a city. It's in the middle of a city, and also at the same time, it is a building that is like for the 4-story high, and also something that because it's for the domestic use, we are thinking in the very early stage, we were trying to test, can we have a wider width for each module? Because normally speaking, we normally use 2440 mm wide to fit into a lorry. But at the same time, after studying the whole transportation path, we were thinking about, can we try something wider, like 2.8 meters? And we were lucky that, I still remember that at that time, I need to go to transport department, go to the road management office to explain to them what is actually MIC. Because at that very early stage, the policemen were actually not very aware of what is MIC. So I have to go and explain, do a presentation to them, let them know that this is very important, and also let them know that we need the YLO permit on the daytime, because actually they were planning to give us the permit, but at the night time. But we were trying to say that, no, we cannot do that in the nighttime because we need the modules to be delivered on site on the daytime so that we can construct one by one. So this is actually very important. And this is something that is very interesting, I think, as an experience to share. So we are lucky enough to have this project starting to have all the fabrication in the factory, and very soon it will start to fabricate on site. Actually, I remember should be next week we can have gradually have all this module starting to install on the site. And also, it's very happy that usually talking about a project as architect to manage a project, we usually talk about how to do the time management and what's the time, especially the EOT, that is extension of time. Every one of us know it now. And we have to control the time. But this project, we are talking about how many days in advance, earlier complete. So this is a very happy thing to talk about. And so this is actually really something that I feel like this is something we can really appreciate about. So Wilson, I know that we are limited by that 2 slides because I know that you have more than those 7 projects doing, right? And would you mind to share some of this experience right now? What is being kind of the different structural systems, and can you explain a little bit to all of us?
Okay, I can share some design experience because I see Fion and Tesset colleague here, and hello, and they are all expert. Ben also here. Okay, so I share the experience. Okay, when we thinking about MIC, the first thing we should do is the structural system. What is the structural system of MIC? Because MIC, everybody knows that this is the prefabricated in factory and then installed on site. So the structural safety is the most important things here. So when we design the MIC project, we many structural system, we think about that. But finally, I sum up here 4 major we use nowadays structural system. The first structural system is still MIC in basing system. which is very common use in transitional housing project, which the module MIC is individual here, come to the site, and then we connect together by the conductor and vertical, horizontal, and a joint. So it is very efficient in construction and applicable to low-rise self-standing building also. The second one is the RCMIC column beam system, which is also, is similar to steel, but it's made of steel. Okay, so also concrete has many advantage, but let the constructor present. But I'm not going to present the advantage of concrete. Okay, so this is one of our structural system. This is also demandable and low-rise. It is suitable for low-rise standing project. Transitional housing project also adopt this system. Okay, the third one is the MIC module is steel, plus the core wall is a concrete core wall. This system have an advantage is the better lateral stability. So it's applicable to high-rise building. So I have two projects adopt this system, which is Yunming Chun and Hong Kong U High West, also this system. Okay. The fourth system, I think would become more common and common. This is MIC in shear wall system. I can say that this is a purely concrete, no matter the MIC unit itself, but also the core is all made of concrete. It's similar to cast in situ concrete, but it fabricated in factory and then transport to site and then install it. This is the major, nowadays I can come across the structural system for the MIC. Somebody asked, any other else? System is okay. I come across some is the combination of steel and some part of it is in situ concrete to increase the stability, lateral stiffness of it. It's also a system. Oh, okay. Really remind me more quick. Okay. After we choose the structural system, we have to decide the joint. The joint, okay, I share some joint for you, the project which is adopted in this in our project, which is Lok Sin Tong's project, the joint, and Gong Hawei's project, and Lam Chang's project. It's all different projects, which depends on the MIC supplier, their system. So when we find that MIC supplier, we adopt their system into our structural system to check the joint and then submit for approval authority for the approval. And also we have the concrete construction, the joint detail also. This is 3 model presented the concrete, how we do the joint design. Okay, another we have to design the easy for installation, the construction detail. Not only design the joint, how can it install? We have to make it easy installation. That is our job to do, okay? And design-wise, we have another very important consideration because when MIC is prepared and then joined together and installed, so we have to consider the robustness and integrity. So what means robustness and integrity? We have to consider the tie. The MIC, the horizontal tie, vertical tie, we have to provide the vertical continuity and horizontal continuity. So when a steel structure, we have to provide the tie horizontally between the column, okay, and then the vertical continuity between the column. For the RC, we also need to consider this: the tie for the column, the tie for the floor, and then continuity, vertical continuity. And then our structural model have to consider if it is made of steel, we have to assume hypothetically remove the column. You can see there's a circle. We delete the column. To make the system, check it, the steel is safe, then we will get approval. Otherwise, no way. Okay, I share some design because of the time constraint. I cannot talk too much. So I
Totally
pass the
okay.
ball to you. Okay, you talk about the
Thank you,
architectural.
Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, thanks for Wilson's sharing of the experience on all the structural design. Actually, on the planning wise, or on the, what are we architects have to do in this kind of MIC projects? Take an example. This is what I'm doing in Yinghua Street. Actually, we got a site which is a short-term tenancy site, and actually there are some kind of difficulties or some kind of different site matters that we have to deal with, especially there are a lot of drain and drainage reserve area at the site. So that actually isolates, that actually defines where we can put the buildings. And within this site, we have to separate the site into two different buildings. That induced some new issues like how about the connection of the drainage, how about the connection of the electricity and all the utilities, and how can they get across the drainage reserve, or do we need two different manholes to connect to the street, that kind of issues. And also something that we as architects, usually that very detailed structural design we will leave to experts like Wilson, but I would say in MIC project, we also need a very detailed understanding of the whole system, because the choice of the system actually affects the overall layout. Let's say in our case, as I said, we want to try a 2.8 meters wide module, and the width of the module will actually affect the number of the units and also the size of the block, which at the same time you can see from the plan that each of the sides are already quite close to the boundary and also drainage reserve. So this actually defines us what we can do, and we need to understand that at the very beginning. So this is something actually very important, and also the alignment, the arrangement of the utility block, whatsoever, that kind of things. And also in the design where we are doing, we also have to consider about interior spaces as well, because the window location, you can see that this mock-up, I would feel like this is quite nicely done, because when you go inside, you don't feel like this is kind of transitional, temporary nature of a housing, but it's rather quite livable, I would say. And the windows are wide, and the whole space are spacious. This is something that I would feel like, as architect, I would feel like this is something that even for myself, I would feel quite good to go and live right there. So this is something at least I think has achieved. And also in the same time, this is something that we need to think about the MIC moduling during the planning stage. Let's say in this case, because we don't just provide one container unit, units for the two-person unit. But in some cases, we also need to provide a bigger unit, which is two combined MIC units together. And by doing this, you can see that we have 2 bedrooms. And that means we have to find a space that we can get the adequate amount of sunlight, the prescribed window, and it can be open to 2 sides, which in return, it actually affects the overall basic planning. So this is something that we have to really understand the whole system and then to see how to do that. And also, at the same time, after I do the project, I understand that the geotechnical content of the site is also important, because there are different types of the MIC. Some of them are heavier, some of them are lighter, different sizes. And in our very early stage, in planning stage, we have to think about the loading of the land. Can it really cater for different types of the units being possible? So this is something that in the early stage we have to do. So this is something that I feel like, as architect, this is something that really needs to learn about. Yeah. So Wilson, can you share about some of the things as consultants working on those projects? What are the advantages that you feel like can benefit from MIC?
I think everybody here knows the benefit, the advantage of MIC. So I would like to say, as an APRSC, we have to promote MIC also, right? So MIC, the benefit, is enhance the efficiency, shorten the construction period, and improve the site safety performance, better building quality, less construction waste, less demand for the site labor. As I was the VTC training board committee, I understand the shortage of labor, in Hong Kong is now become a very big problem. So MIC is solved for that. Okay, the less construction license here. So here is MIC is not only contribute to quality and sustainable built environment, but also how to ease some of the challenge of the local construction industry. That's our challenge here. Okay?
Yeah. And actually, I would feel like one of the biggest advantage, actually, our previous guest also mentioned about this, I think it's the savings on the cost and the time.
This is very important.
This is very important.
Factor.
And this is a program that, this is a simplified program of a transitional housing project. And you can see that after doing all these projects, I think in the future or right now we can achieve the shortest time is like this, which it can be done in total of 1.5 years, including the early consultancy design, getting the approvals, which can be done in the first 6 months. And then we can have the contractor ready on board and within 12 months, or in some cases, I think even 10 months is achievable to complete everything. And Wilson, I remember you have a special project that can be even shorter, right?
Yes, I get a very good experience here at Lok Sin Tong, right? Which we have the time for complete the whole project from the tender award to issue OP within 9 months. Well, depends on well planning on the logistic, transportation, planning, design, everything. We can compress the time, include everything. This is very, very quick.
Actually, this is something that I would say the early stage, if we as consultants can do a better planning, then it helps the saving of the cost and the time. So there are also different advantages. I think the cleanliness and the saving of the timing, and also one thing I think is important is the integration with BIM, because this really can achieve the thing that we always, as architects or engineers, we always want issues to be resolved before it is being constructed. Nobody of us would like to have any VO, abortive works, suddenly something to consider on site. So this is actually something that everything is ready before it's being constructed. And of course, about safety and the quality, I think is also very important, right? Yeah, so can you give us some final words how to look forward on this MIC?
Yes, I think I look forward and say we have to work together in the whole industry party, right? Yeah. So some future improvement as UAP and RSC. So you can say some wording in the AP issue. You can share of it.
Yeah, and about the approval process, about the selection of material, about the details, I think we are actually inside a very good learning curve right now. So we keep learning, we keep getting the new information or the present cases from the previous projects. So I can see it's gradually improving. So that's why the program, today I'm saying 1.5 years, tomorrow maybe we can say about 1 year can complete. Who knows? But this is the trend. This is something that we can see.
In terms of planning, we would like to advise is that the logistic we have the well plan, so make sure that the delivery, living design is good. So the installation procedure we have the well plan and easy for installation to save time. This can be in design rise, can do it. So and another improvement I would like to share is the joint design. So this is some project, I would like to say the improvement of the joint. So there is two modules between MIC. Some kind of joint is two double wall. One is non-structural, one is the structural. So we are thinking about, so you combine the two wall, delete one non-structural wall. make it one structural wall, but separate into two MIC. So it combined as a composite. So this is the way, one of the example. We have to continue to improve the connection design of the MIC, as well as the logistic, transportation, installation, all aspects to improve. Okay.
So actually, time is never enough because, especially for an architect and a structural engineer, stand on here, share about MIC, 20 minutes is simply not enough. So I hope can have another chance to talk with all of you or just send us some email. We are very happy to share all those experiences that we encountered.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tam and Mr. Zheng, for the sharing. Please be seated. Next, we're pleased to invite our overseas speakers, Mr. Nogi Ke, Representative Director of Eco-Resources Investment from Japan, to share the latest development and technologies in modular construction in Japan with us. In 2016, Mr. Nogi joined ECO's real estate sector and focusing on investment in the Japan modular construction industry. Let's enjoy the video presentation of Mr. Nogi.
皆様、ただいまご紹介いただきました石尾資源投資株式会社の代表取締役野木家でございます。今回のフォーラムにご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。開催にあたりまして一言で挨拶させていただきます。残念ながら新型コロナウイルスのため現場に立ち会って対面に交流することはできませんが、将来機会をあれば皆様を日本に連れて行ってモジュール建築の発展状況を現地で紹介したいと思っております。弊社は長年で日本で事業を進めており、地の製造関係各技術会社を目指しており、重点的なユニット建物を産業に投資しております。弊社は日本の先進的な組み立て式ユニットコア技術と地の製造ラインを投入して伝統的な建物産業チェーンを変えて、建物プロジェクトから工業化製造への高品質な転換を図して自動化を作るように建築を建てるを実現して移動可能、循環可能、ライフスタイルを全体低炭素、環境保護というイコムブランドの製品を提供しております。弊社は株式会社団結都市建築高丸工業会社などの戦略的な協力関係を持ちながら、建設サイクルが短い、総合的なコストが低い日本の成高品質、低炭素、エコという輸出のリードモデルでユニット産業のレイアウトを着実に推進しています。まずは簡単に日本のユニット建築が世界の流れを受け、今日のユニット建築をとしてどのような形作られてきたかご説明いただきます。1920年代にヨーロッパで初めて簡式組み立て構造建築物が建設されて、その後約20年の採決を経て、1941年に日本国内資源を有効に生かすべく木製パネル式組み立て住宅が開発・建設されました。その後、1959年に大和ハウスから木製パネルよりもっと安心で機動性である小規模用軽量低骨系プレパーブ建築が開発されています。1970年に積水化学から軽量低骨スラメン構造箱型ユニットが初めて日本で建築誕生しました。さえも注目されていたプロジェクトは1972年に完成された日本の中銀ビルです。これは日本で一番高い 低筋コンクリートカプセル建物です。その後、1972年頃、核系交換生産開始を立て、建築の工業化への取り組みが始まりました。その取り組みの中で、さまざまな工法が提案されて、その中に鉄鋼ユニットが工法が含まれていました。日本のユニットが建設できる最大のサイズには、建物工法、地盤、コスト、ユニット、搬入状況、敷地状況などの影響が大きいです。また、ユニット専用搬送車両を使い道路運送、現地で重機船ではユニットのサイズや重さは効率コストなどを参考にして決めます。一つのユニットとして運搬可能なサイズは横 3.0 メートル未満、長さは 11 メートル未満、高さは 3.2 メートルであります。道路交通法の関係上でこれ以上のサイズが大きくする運送コストが大幅に上昇しています。日本の組み立て式建物の発電規模について言えば、日本国土交通省の統計した2009年から2018年の組み立て式建物統計データによると、組み立て式が日本新建設物における割合は平均 15% です。鉄鋼構造建築においては、軽量鉄骨構造ユニットは低層建築物の建設に幅広く使われています。しかし、天在国日本にどのようなユニット候補がマッチングするのか。衣装クルブは2001年から重量鉄骨構造のユニット建物を研究開発してきました。現在、教会建ての重量鉄骨構造のユニット建物が開発・建設されました。日本では弊社製の建物だけが教会までユニット単独建設できます。日本国内で最高の建物です。日本政府の集団的なプロシュースには、主に経済産業省と国土交通省の2つの機関で産業発展を推進します。経済産業省は産業構造調整の視点をもとに、業界の発展でどの問題を研究して課題の形を通じて再生補助金で企業の新技術の開発をサポートします。国土交通省は生産工業化や技術面から産業を発展させます。例えば、低炭素中和の目標に対して省エネルギーの性能高い住宅や省エネルギー対策の生活でサポートします。1981年には新耐震設計法が公布されましたおり、構造耐震性能の高い業界に改めて認識されて普及が加速しました。日本の耐震設計基準の改良にこのようになります。一次設計では建物重量の 0.2 倍を地震力として各部の音力が許容範囲以下となることを確認します。二次設計は建物の高さより密のルートがあります。妹工法では最上位の密のルートを利用しています。ユニット建物分野の基づいて、現在日本では技術を審査する専門的な規範がありません。 しかし、各機関が出したユニット候補をいずれも日本国土交通省に提出して承認されて、型式が認証適合する講師を所属して、これは政府が東海技術を適用を強化をする意味です。弊社は世界的な有名な株式会社団系同士建築設計と戦略を提携して、多層のホテル、マンション、養老製品を出しています。E-Modイブネーションユニット、建物製品は移動可能、循環可能、ライフスタイル、全体低炭素、環境保護という優位性を持っています。重量低骨構造ユニットを利用した境界立て可能な建築システムです。重量低骨ユニットの最大の特性は、工場内で建築工事の約 85% を完成することです。具体的な工程として、床おじび、壁、天井、内装の仕上げ、ジョイント、部外以外の外装の取り付け、境界水の衛生設備の設置とユニット内の配管電気設備、取り付けとユニットの中の配線までを工場内で成功します。そのため、制作工程の効率化、建築工事の人口削減及び現場の騒音削減、建築資材の多効率のサイクルをすることが可能などのメリットを持つ建築システムです。海上運送、陸上運送を実現していて、工場から全世界の建設市場が建築適用範囲をとっています。以上ジャパンは手作業と自動化のコストの比較原則に基づいて、将来の全自動化製造ラインの研究開発に早めに着手して、規模化生産と人力不足のネックを解決します。これから代表的な実例をご紹介いただきます。一つ目のプロジェクトは7階建てのホテルです。全部E-Mod工法を利用します。ユニット数は161個、1日5個、合計35日まで、完成まで8ヶ月かかります。2つ目のプロジェクトは中国の3階建てマンションです。3つ目のプロジェクトは、建設完了物を10年後に解体して一地区建設しました。4つ目のはただいま香港に実施しているプロジェクトです。石尾グループは環境のために熟速可能な建築技術と研究開発を応じてハイランド戦略的に協力します。双方は共同で中国香港のバイシャーマンプロジェクトを立てし、生態的持続可能なグリーンテクノロジーで品質の高い生活を要求し、生態環境保護、グリーン建設の品質の高い自然技術文化体験センターを建設します。開発、実行は終点がありません。常に新しいことへの始まります。挑戦です。今後も安心安全、環境、品質を提供できるE-Mod工法を邁進していきます。どうもありがとうございました。Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nogi. Next, we'll have another overseas speaker to share with us. We're pleased to invite Mr. Jamie Johnston, MBE Board Director and Head of Global Systems of Brighton Wood from the UK, to share on the topic of modular building projects development in the UK. Mr. Johnson is the author of benchmark strategy documents, which have been adopted as a foundation for the UK government's drive to create a more productive and value-driven construction sector. Please enjoy the sharing of Mr. Johnson.
Hi there, my name is Jamie Johnston and I'm a board director at an integrated design consultancy called Bryden Woods. I'm also the platform design lead for the Construction Innovation Hub, which we'll talk about a bit later. I'm going to explain some of the things that have been happening in the UK and a particular journey that the UK government has been on over the last 4 or 5 years. So these are some of the key documents that have been published here in the UK. You can see sort of starting back in 2017, Bryden Wood put out a document describing an approach called platforms, which we're going to talk a lot about. And it was certainly influential in a series of documents that the government then put out around how to shift the industry from its current form into something more like manufacturing. So how to get some of the benefits of the manufacturing sector into construction and improve productivity and all of these things. So it's been a particularly exciting journey, I think, and there's some really interesting things that the government's put out on this topic. So to start with, I'm going to cover some terms because I'm very conscious that the topic of industrialised construction has attracted a whole suite of terms and people use them in different ways and almost interchangeably. So it's worth sort of stating what I mean by some of these sort of key terms as we go through this. So the first document the government put out was the Autumn Statement 2017. So the Autumn Statement is our annual sort of budget announcement that sets out the government's key priorities, what it's going to spend money on, those sorts of things. And it had this really interesting section in it where it talked about government using their spending power to increase cost effectiveness, timeliness and productivity. So to improve the outcomes from the way it delivers its assets by using what it described as modern methods of construction. You can see here it says such as off-site. So that in itself, I think, was interesting, that it's referring to off-site or prefabrication as one aspect of a wider approach, which is modern methods of construction. But this was the kind of first big announcement where government said, look, we're going to use our spending power, we're going to transform the industry, and we're going to go on this journey. And since then, they've been very, very consistent in the messaging, but more and more sophisticated in explaining exactly what they mean and what the plan is. So I think that's great that there's been a sort of real prolonged interest from government in transforming construction. It's been a very high priority of theirs for some years, and you'll see where they're starting to get to in terms of their thinking. So that term, modern methods of construction, as I said, off-site is, or prefabrication is one aspect of it. But actually MMC certainly here means, all of the different tools and approaches that you can use to address those things of time, cost, productivity. And I would add sustainability is obviously a key topic now. So it doesn't just mean the physical manifestations, so things like MIC or volumetric or panelized. It also means the digital tools, so algorithmic design, computational design, robotics, point cloud scanning. So MMC refers to sort of any one of these approaches which is helping to address those sort of key drivers. I'm a designer, so I like then the term design for manufacturing assembly. So if MMC is the sort of overall approach, DFMA is the design process that you use. So if you want to manufacture and assemble an asset, then you need to design it in a particular way. So where we see this fail is that people do a traditional design process and try and retrofit some form of prefabrication, say. And you either end up compromising the design or you end up not getting the full benefits of the system. So DFMA is the sort of design process that we use. And that results in sort of manifestations of physical things using MIC or volumetric, the platforms approach, which I'm going to explain in a second, and the use of all these sort of digital initiatives. So hopefully that gives you a framework when I talk about these terms. The central one there, platforms, is the the term that's really caught government's interest. It's a term that we've appropriated from automotive, where, as you know, I'm sure you know that automotive does a phenomenal job of creating an awful lot of choice in the specification of a new car, for instance, but it always uses exactly standardized components and standardized processes. So that platforms thinking was something that we wanted to get into construction and start to say, well, how can we get the same benefits? How can we identify standardized, repeatable components that we can use across sectors, across programs, because that's how we'll start to get the economies of scale that manufacturing does, and that's how we'll really start to shift the industry. So even back in 2017, IPA, the Infrastructure Projects Authority, who developed the policy and strategy around construction for the UK government and published, for instance, the National Infrastructure Pipeline of the big spend that's coming over 5-10 years. It sort of set out this diagram and said, look, where we're trying to get to is that top right-hand corner. So we want to use manufactured components, but we want to still get bespoke assets. And they'd identified certain blockers to say volumetric, modular, or MIC, where there's a sort of barrier to entry. So you typically need quite a big upfront capital investment to set up a factory to start making volumetric units at scale. And then there's a level of standardization that volumetric likes because you want to get that sort of repeatability. So that's completely perfect for certain asset types. But there are certainly others where you want a greater degree of kind of granularity, flexibility, or bespokeness in your assets while still getting all the benefits of manufacturing. And that's that top right-hand corner where the aspiration was always to get us into that space. So I'll publish these slides. You can read these at your leisure, but these are some of the considerations in terms of the positives and negatives of each of these systems. And as I say, they're all good for certain things. We need a rich mix of different approaches to industrialized construction, MMC, but we're trying to find out, there's certain limitations to all of them, but obviously platforms, as I say, is the one where government thinks there's the potentially greatest benefit. So I'm going to explain a bit more about platforms and explain how government got to this point. So first up, I'm going to show a short video published by the Infrastructure Projects Authority explaining what they mean by platforms.
Hi, I'm Alistair Hellier, Head of Benchmarking for the Infrastructure and Projects Authority. I'm going to explain in this animation how we need to change the nature of our interventions in the built environment to address the need for social infrastructure using platform approaches to construction. We normally deliver public buildings as standalone projects, and we could deliver more efficiently if we took a different approach. If we could get a shared view of what projects are in the pipeline across the public sector, and if we could see which elements they have in common, we could use that knowledge to invest in construction platform solutions that everyone can benefit from. Having a predictable pipeline and clear rules for platforms would give industry the confidence to invest in product ranges. Products that could be configured digitally, bespoke to the project context, but consistent with the rule set. It would also mean that the associated investment in manufacturing assembly, creating inclusive employment, could be spread across the country, with the assurance that all components will work together as expected when they are assembled on site. Implementation data could then be used to feed back into the system so that the learning leads to improvement, not just in a single building, but to the design and delivery of all future projects created using the same construction platform or products. This lesson will help us understand whether our investments are actually achieving the priority outcomes we were anticipating, and lead to a virtuous cycle in how we use the built environment to meet the needs of each citizen.
So hopefully that's clear in explaining the process and the potentially massive benefits of doing this in terms of improving all of those outcomes, creating new jobs and opportunities, new skills, new manufacturing opportunities and things. So I'm going to sort of explain how governments got there. So one of the first documents or diagrams that we published was this graph showing all of the types of spaces that the government departments buy. So we started saying that if you plotted everything that government procures across all the departments, everything lives on this graph in terms of, sort of size of spaces to buy. And you could imagine that there would be, we can see there'd be clusters of spaces which are quite similar. So you can imagine a sort of kit of parts that's very good for providing cellular repeatable accommodations, things like prison cells, single living accommodation for the army, student accommodation. You can imagine a kit of parts that delivers sort of big empty shed type buildings, so sports halls, gymnasia, workshops. And there's probably a cluster of spaces that sit in the middle. So one of the sort of key insights we found was that obviously floor-to-floor heights are based on the size of people. And at the height of a person, you can get natural daylight about 8 meters into a building. And that's why schools and apartments and hospitals have an 8-meter span. It's nothing to do with sector, it's all to do with people. So if you had a sort of 8-meter span kit of parts, you could probably do vast amounts of social infrastructure. So to then prove this point, one of the first things it talked about in that video was a harmonized, rationalized pipeline. So we, through the Construction Innovation Hub, which was set up in 2018 by the UK government to investigate this area and start to define what the platforms would look like, what components would look like, what the processes would need to look like. We were given access to the forward pipeline of these big government departments. We took their forward data, we put it into the same classification system, so we used Uniclass, so we could then cross-compare different types of spaces across different departments to look for commonality and look for where we might sort of enhance commonality to drive these platform approaches. So we did loads and loads of different data visualizations. This is one of the first ones we did and one of the most straightforward ones, where on the right we were looking at the numbers of all of these spaces, on the left we were looking at the areas. So you can see things like bathrooms, there's loads and loads of bathrooms and sanitary accommodation, but it's not a huge area. So that tells you something about the form of delivery that might be appropriate. So that's a place where you might use MIC because you've got lots and lots of the same thing. They're relatively compact and cost dense. So it tells you something about the form of delivery, but it also starts to tell you something about how you deliver these other types of spaces. So some of the key findings, this one I thought was particularly interesting, that of £50 billion worth of pipeline we looked at, about 70% of it could be delivered by that 8-meter span superstructure system that I talked about. So it tells you that there's a massive market for a suite of structural components that do 8-meter spans very, very effectively. But we also found things like less than half of a hospital is actually clinical space, less than half of a school is actually educational space. Most of these buildings is actually circulation and storage and plant and waiting and gymnasia and dining. It's the sort of support function. So it tells you might sort of separate the department-specific critical spaces and treat them differently to the ones which are more generic and occur across lots of different departments. So this data set was phenomenally useful in starting to define what a platform approach would look like and how we might drive one. You've seen the video that describes it very well. There was a document that came out at the same time, the roadmap to 2030. And one of the things it said is that government will be mandating this approach. So it said we're going to spend 2 years to work out what the mandate will mean, because we need to sort out the design processes, procurement, supply chain, training, manufacturing. There's a whole raft of different parts of the ecosystem need to be developed to support this. So we've got 2 years to work out what that is. And there'll be a glide path of a number of years before we adopt it as business as usual, like we did with BIM here in the UK. But I think that's really interesting. The government said we will be doing platforms. Now we've got a couple of years for the industry to work out what it means. So last minute from me, I'm just going to quickly go through a case study. This is the first building that we're actually building on site at the moment using a platform approach. It's for Landsec, who are the UK's biggest private developer. It's on a site in London, so it's just south of the River Thames near St Paul's, if you know London. You can see here, architecturally not constrained by the fact it's a system build. So architecturally, it's a very site-specific response to its context, but it uses a very, very repeatable kit of parts. This is some of the prototyping we did before we delivered the project on site. So this was looking at how few people can we use, what level of automation is appropriate, and can we build a superstructure with a tiny number of people very, very quickly and very, very accurately. You can see here we're using color-coded components, for instance, so they're very easy to check and assemble. We're measuring things in minutes. All of this construction takes place safely from the slab below, so no one ever needs to work at height. So we lift the components, we pump the concrete, it's low carbon concrete, it's self-compacting, and we're getting a very, very accurate superstructure. So we're plus or minus 5 millimeters on this project compared to sort of plus or minus 50, 30 we might be on another project. You'll see here all of the mechanical electrical fixing points are already cast in that slab. So once the superstructure's up and it's very accurate, the MEP systems then are clipped into position, the facade comes as a kit of parts, and we're getting massive gains in terms of productivity and safety. These are some of the metrics from this project. So you can see here, better net lettable area, lower cost. It's the UK's first net zero commercial building. It's quicker, it has fewer people. So we're getting enormous benefits already. But you can imagine if you take those types of benefits and you multiply it by the scale of that 50 billion pipeline, we can be making dramatic reductions in terms of overall carbon. We can be increasing productivity, creating new jobs and skills. So you can see here, the opportunity to scale this approach up across UK government will give us massive, massive benefit. So it's going to be very exciting, I think, over the next couple of years. And hopefully that we'll have lots more to talk about and explain in future years. Again, I'll publish these slides. These are the links to the key documents that I've talked about. By all means, download them, read them at your leisure. So that's all from me. Thanks again ever so much for inviting me to talk. I hope that's been interesting, and please enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston, and all of our honorable guest speakers today. Other than MIC, the modularization of MEP system in building projects had also become a new trend. Multi-tray integrated MEP, as known as MiMEP, is widely adopted in building projects. MiMEP refers to the adoption of the FMA for MEP components and equipment by integrating them into a sub-assembly off-site and then delivered to and installed on-site. The DFMA MiMEP Trade Show 2021, organized by the CIC, was successfully concluded on March 2021 with over 3,300 project clients, industry practitioners, and the government regulators visitor. And I think most of you are very interested on this topic as well. So now we'll have the plenary session. The topic of the discussion is about the ways to drive MIC and MiMEP adoption in design of building projects. First of all, please welcome our moderator, Engineer Professor Wei Pan, Executive Director of the Center for Innovation in Construction and Infrastructure Development of the University of Hong Kong. Welcome, Engineer Professor Wei Pan.
Okay, test.
And now, may I also invite our panelists, Sophia Frankie Yearn, Director Projects of Hong Kong Housing Society. Mr. Ben Lui, Executive Director, Operations of Urban Renewal Authority. Engineer Wong Chi Kwong, Vice President of Building Engineering MEP Hong Kong of ACOM Asia Company Limited. Welcome. And also Dr. John Kern, Emeritus Fellow of BCA Academy from Singapore. As Dr. Kern are not able to attend the discussion physically, we are now having a video call with Dr. Kern. Thank you so much for joining the plenary session with us today. So, Professor Pan, I will pass the time to you. The stage is yours, please.
Thanks a lot, MC. Welcome to this panel session. As the MC introduced, we have 4 very heavyweight panelists for this session to share the profound knowledge and the expertise on MIC and the very exciting MIC pioneering projects which have been happening at the time when we talk today. To kick off the panel session, I have got 3 slides to set the theme for this panel session. So the first one, as early in this conference today, you have heard from Chairman Chan, the formal journey of MIC in Hong Kong actually went back to the year 2017 when the University of Hong Kong had this study supported by CIC, seeking for strategies for enhancing construction productivity. And modular construction was raised as one of the strategic measures as the consequence of that study. And shortly after that, as you can see from the screen, we have produced the first formal booklet, the MIC policy paper. And after that, we have produced the glossary of MIC, which elaborates over 170 terminologies with graphical illustrations about MIC and offsite prefabrication. And after that, we have produced the MIC performance measurement guidebook, which sets the process and the KPI structures for measuring MIC performance to demonstrate the wide-ranging benefits of adopting this innovative construction methods over the traditional ones. As you can see from the screen, the KPI structure, actually that sets the 32 KPIs classified under the environmental, social, and economic aspects of performance. And you can see from the right-hand side of the screen, there are a lot of hard data connected with the support from the clients and the construction teams. All of this actually very, very much verifies our predicted benefits, and some of the benefits were very well raised and introduced by the clients and the project teams early in this conference. So the finding is really, the economic, social, environmental, all fortified, enhanced by the use of MIC over traditional methods. And this is not the end. We have measured this too, and building on a success, we're also in the process of measuring more MIC projects, as you can see from the screen, actually, and also to expand the building types of MIC project from the student hostel and public buildings, staff quarters to buildings for sales, and also for elderly homes, public sector housing, and so on and so forth. So we have got more results to share in the near future, and you have a much, much stronger evidential basis to support your pioneering exploration in this area. So with these few slides and the booklets you have seen from the first slides, a lot of interesting things supported by CIC and Development Bureau and the Policy Innovation and Coordination Office of the government. And there is a strong knowledge base and evidence pool to fully support the journey of MIC to be the mainstream practice of the construction industry. So now, I think it's probably the time for me to invite some of the panelists to share on the upcoming MIC residential projects in Hong Kong. First, if I can, I would like to invite Mr. Frankie Yeung to talk a little bit about the pioneering case projects under the Housing Society. Please.
Thanks, Ray. Well, in fact, in this afternoon, actually, we have heard about quite a lot of successful stories locally and also abroad. So, in fact, I must say that Housing Society, in fact, is only a starter of this MIC venture. But anyway, we have, in fact, at the moment, 2 projects along the line using the MIC construction methodology. One is the Hongshui-Kiu subsidized sales flat project. The other one is the extension to an existing public rental housing, providing elderly housing for our elderlies. And also, in fact, we have, with our construction pipeline, around the pipeline, some 6,000 units of flats, employing the volumetric precast bathroom and volumetric precast kitchen. So in fact, that's basically what we are now venturing into this MIC journey. Well, for our pilot projects, we carefully select the projects with a few guidelines as noted in this slide, whereby we carefully consider the location, the type of building or development that they are involving, whether that we involve only just a projects for lease, or in fact, would that be just, well, would that be with a title transfer, i.e. the for sale? Would there be any problem in the logistics, in the hoisting or in the transportation of those modules during the transit? And these are all those factors. Of course, there are other factors to be considered. But anyway, these are the factors that we need, in fact, to take into consideration in our choice of those material or of those projects. The Hongshui-Kiu project, as you can see in the screen, is in fact a 25-story typical floor on top of 2 podiums. And it will provide some 300 units, which is a subsidized sales flat type of development. So in fact, well, this will be for sale. This will be for sale. It will not just be for students or for transit. It will be for sale. So in fact, it's a very good tester as to the market acceptance of this type of production and also the type of construction. So we are very cautious about, in fact, the quality and also the production along this particular product. The one thing that we will, in fact, we have our working partners within this room actually. Well, and in fact, we are working with them on a MIC 3.0. That is what we target on. I.e., we try, in fact, in this particular project to have more and more of the IoT, whereby we can use the technology, in fact, to monitor much better of activities offsite during the transit and during the installation. And that is actually what we're trying, in fact, to venture in and to target on. Also, in fact, the project that we on the screen now showing the information about this project, i.e. We have some 22 types of modules. We have some 49 modules per floor, and we are totaling to about 1,200 more modules for the whole construction. And we aim for a 4-day cycle, and we are now having more than 80% of the floor area with MIC construction. And that is actually what we have achieved and now for this particular project. For the next one, in fact, which is the Yumingchun elderly housing. In fact, actually, this is an annex to an existing public rental housing. We will be building a 64 elderly housing with 8 stories, i.e. 8 units per floor. And this is a steel MIC construction, but in fact, it is a hybrid, whereby we are having the steel frame with nano concrete lightweight infill panels. So actually, well, the reason why we employ this particular construction is that we try, in fact, to provide more comfort and more flexibility for the users of these premises. In fact, for them to have more freedom on hoisting a picture or some other means whereby, in fact, it would be very restrictive if we are using steel cladding because of the fire rating requirements and all that. The other catching point about this particular project is that we will aim at to have what I call it MiLift, multi-tray integrated lift, whereby we try in fact to have the lift cores in fact to be in MIC as well, with part of those M&E lift related elements such as the guide rail brackets, some of the lift door subframes and all that to be inbuilt with the elements. So that is what we're trying in fact to develop in this particular project. So in fact, I will just stop in here about the two projects that we are Housing Society is venturing in.
Excellent. Thanks, Frankie. And apart from your projects, I'm aware URA is also conducting an exercise. So Ben, you were very quickly mentioned the project you are also having on the way. Yeah, of course, please.
It's easier for me to look at the slides because. Well, for the URA project, it is a relatively small project. It's located in S Street of Tai Kok Tsui. Where is Tai Kok Tsui? Tai Kok Tsui is actually one of the mostly congested residential areas in Hong Kong, and it has narrow streets. So that's why we think that this is a suitable project to test out all the challenges of the MIC project. For our project, we are on a relatively small site. It's only about 417 square meters. The total GFA is just 3,600 square meters. Well, it is of a single residential tower, 23 levels on 3 levels of commercial podium. The commercial podium will be by conventional method, and the 23 stories residential tower will be by MIC. The core itself is still a conventional method. There are altogether 69 residential flats. This project, we are adopting a concrete MIC, and all the units, all the residential units are intended for sale to the public. In the S Street, the area, as I said, is congested, and the other buildings are in close proximity to our site. What we call the Zhang La Lou is this type of building. The challenges of the narrow street is that we have to make sure that the transportation trucks delivering the MIC unit will be able to negotiate all these narrow roads into the area, and we had to have enough staging areas for the MIC unit to be lifted up to the buildings. So these are some of the challenges we have to consider. Well, this project has commenced already. We are in the foundation stage, and we hope that we will be able to complete it by 2023. The total construction time is about 2 years, a little bit longer than what the other speakers talk about, because we have to build a 3-story in situ podium, and also the lift is in situ as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Ben. Now we have heard a lot from the public sector. You know, the MIC journey, very exciting, and also a lot of benefits demonstrated. But we should really engage more the private sector to try, we would like to see more. So I think now probably I would continue to ask Ben to share with us the views and the local experiences from the angle how the building owners they can better benefit and adopt more MIC.
Okay. Yeah. To stand up again. So, challenges. During the inception of this small project, we are actually fighting ourselves in our mind that whether we should build it according to the conventional method or the MIC method. Because for the conventional method, it's simple and easy. We just build it as usual, and we don't have any problem. It's a small site, typical residential blocks. But we think that we have an obligation to the construction industry, and we need to use this project to try out what are the challenges of the MIC project. Well, URA is not a developer, but we can still think like a developer. and see what developers would look at MIC projects to identify the challenges. In particular, when you think about this project, we ask ourselves why so far no private residential projects are adopting MIC in Hong Kong. So far we heard about hostels, staff quarters, institutional buildings, and luckily Hong Kong HS is building some flats for sale as well. So we are kind of good partners. We later on I will ask Frankie about issues about private sales residential projects. Well, for the challenges, we identify a few of the challenges. So can MIC adopt the private sector standards? Previously, it's hostels, staff quarters, but in residential projects, the demand of the purchasers are quite high. They are looking at the good finishes, luxurious or better fit-outs. Can MIC projects do something like that? So this is one of the things that we have to look at. The MIC layout constraints and quality concern. So the MIC units are kind of a rectangular box. It's limited by the dimensions. So can the MIC layout fit into the private development projects? Quality concern. MIC units are built in China. Do we have a concern of the quality? Especially nowadays, the purchasers are looking for 0 defects in a building. Yeah, they actually demand very high quality standards. In particular, some of this is helping them to spot where there may be 200 defects in a certain unit. So we have to be careful about this. How are we going to control the quality of a private residential building project? So it's gone. Yes, it's back. Well, thick walls. Thick walls, now, private residential projects, we had several units linked together. So between the bedroom and the living room, there will be thick walls. It would look quite strange when purchasers are looking at the mock-ups. So is that a concern? Reduction in the sellable and carpet area. The MIC thick walls is taking up some of the gross floor areas. So would that have impact on the sellable area and the carpet area? So we have to look at that. Procurement and contract concern. It may be difficult to procure a contractor because they are not familiar with the concrete MIC construction. High risk to the contractors as well because concrete construction, narrow streets, it may be the first time they have did the project, so it may have a high risk to them. Future maintenance. Would MIC units have special maintenance requirements? Well, so these are the concerns that we have looked at during the inception of the project. Fortunately, we are able to solve all these. So maybe next slide. It seems not working. Okay, here we are. Well, MIC layout and quality. I got to have a better memory, so I don't have to look at the slides. So please bear me with my memory. Procurement strategy is so high tech not always work. So
no, it's actually centrally controlled.
Okay, MIC layout and quality concern. Well, after looking at the layouts, the concrete MIC boxes can easily fit into a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom units. We are able to use the MIC boxes for private residential projects, so it is not a problem. And for the quality issues, we are adopting a 4-tier design and quality review system. First, we start with the timber mock-up like any other residential projects. And then we'll be, at the factory, we'll be having the factory mock-ups, and we'll be having the trial installations. On site, we'll have a sample floor to test out the installation. Is it whether it is as expected or not? So the quality issues can be solved. Off-site quality control, as I said, because the demand of the purchasers are quite high now, they are demanding 0 defects in the residential projects. So how are we going to ensure the quality. So the first thing we have to do is to have some shortlisting criteria for the contractors, both for the Hong Kong contractors and the contractors in China. We have off-site residential site staff, and we, from Hong Kong, we will adopt the real-time video inspection. Of course, we will have REs and site staff in our project as well. So we are confident that the quality of the MIC units can be maintained. Please. About the suitability of MIC method for private residential projects. So you can see that, well, we are adopting a curtain wall for the external facade. We are providing luxurious bathroom facilities. We are providing good quality kitchen cabinet, electrical appliances in the MIC units. It's all being done in the factory. So we don't have a problem for these private residential installations in the MIC. So this has been solved. Next one, please. Sellable and usable area. Well, this is of the major concern when we are looking at the MIC projects. Because the thick walls, as I said, is taking up some of the gross floor areas. There are two factors that improve the situation. The first one is we are adopting the composite wall system. It makes the wall thinner. The thickness of the aggregated wall is only about 250, so it is of a reasonable thickness. The other thing is the 6% GFA concession. I think this is a very important factor that the government is helping the industry. So with this 6%, we are able to achieve the sellable area is a bit 4% more than the conventional methods, that we are selling 4% more of the sellable area. And the carpet area or the usable floor area is more or less the same. So at least the area we get after installing all the thick walls is the same. So it's no impact to us. Procurement strategy. It is a relatively new concept to the private sector contractors. So that's why we are adopting a two-stage expression of interest. But the first stage of the expression of interest is basically a market sounding. We tell the contractors that we are having an MIC project, so you can pre-apply the in-principle approval in advance. The second EOI is basically the pre-qualification. So we look at whether they have the initial approvals, and at the same time, we are designing a conforming engineer's design and put it in the tender. So even if they don't have the IPA, they still are able to tender for our project. And of course, we allow them to do alternative designs. One particular important thing is that we do this traffic approval earlier in the design stage. We talk to Transport Department. We determine the width of the MIC boxes. We did the sweeping path in the narrow streets, and eventually we had initial approval for the delivery. And we have sought out the staging or the waiting area for the trucks as well with the Transport Department. And it shows that the government, especially Transport Department, is supporting the industry to help us to see how this MIC construction can be realized. And early engagement of the main contractor is also important. We engage the contractor, actually, we engage the main contractor already, so they have plenty of time to plan and design their MIC units before the site is being handed over to them. Contract provisions. We know that it is quite a lot of risk to the contractor. We try to share the risk with the main contractor and subcontractor. That's why we adopt the NEC contract to encourage the collaboration and early risk identification. We had the advance payment to the main contractor. about 60% of the MIC elements would be paid to them if they have completed fabrication in China. Well, still, when we look at the tender price, it is still a bit more expensive than the conventional method. We did an analysis on why this is more expensive. It is because the economy of scales has not been reached. So I think if for future projects we have a bigger project or more contractor is more familiar with the MIC construction, the cost will tend to lower a lot. But at the same time, we got a lot of benefits from the MIC development. Now, we talk about the quality of projects, we talk about the better site safety, less noise and less impact to the community, and all these intangible or indirect benefits will offset all this increase in cost. Future maintenance, because we are adopting the full concrete MIC, so there is no special inspection or maintenance requirement, and we are doing the 6-sided MIC module, so to some extent it's a better waterproofing and better noise insulation as well. We also will be issuing a handbook to the owners to show that which are the structural wall, and is there any special attention need to be paid to the maintenance of the units.
Oh, thanks a lot, Ben, for your sharing. Please be seated. I think one of the probably success strategies is to have a better knowledge transfer, knowledge exchange to get the whole industry buy in the MIC. And CSE has produced some very useful information guidance. So on the screen are 2 examples. May I invite Frankie just to very briefly talk about these manuals and what do you think we could use this information to better engage developers for more MIC adoption?
Okay, in fact, I must congratulate, in fact, CIC, in particular, KK, and also Richard's team in having, in fact, produced quite a lot of guidelines, guidance notes, and also some reference information for the industry, in fact, for us to take reference to. And in fact, actually, I have the chance, in fact, in taking, or the opportunity in taking part in giving some observation or some, I would say, notes in the formation of these 2 newly published reference material, which I note actually is just uploaded yesterday. Just uploaded yesterday. In fact, well, these 2, in fact, reference material, the first one, in fact, I will just quickly introduce, in fact, is the digital technology on the QAQC for the MIC module production in the factory. In fact, well, this is a very comprehensive depiction of the various process and procedures required in a MIC production process, from the planning, from the design, and from the construction process. It gives quite a detailed description of the required supervision plan, audit check requirements, the ITP, the inspection and testing plan, and also there are various critical inspection activity depicted for the 3 disciplines, the MiMEP, building services, architectural and structural engineering disciplines for them, in fact, to follow. On top of that, in fact, there is also a description of the various available current digital technologies which can help, in fact, to streamline the inspection process. And there's a very good guide that I would really suggest those who is interested in participating in the MIC production or in the process to really to have a look at this particular useful reference information, which is, I find it very useful. The second part, the second sample material is about the sample cost for procurement of the MIC. And in fact, this sample reference material tries, in fact, to provide some example as to how to describe and to demarcate the various liabilities as when we draw up a MIC tender document from the consultant's perspective and also from the contractor's perspective. And in fact, it also touched upon some other areas, in fact, about, say, some contractual arrangements, such as the insurance, such as the warranty or the advance payment. And in fact, that's also another very good reference material for us to take reference to. So in fact, well, I really would comment on KK's team's effort and the production and in assisting the industry in giving all these references to us.
Oh, thanks, Frankie. So we would like to see CSC producing more such very useful guidance in the future. And now, along with the MIC journey in Hong Kong, we have a strong support from many good friends in Singapore. And one of the very good friends is Dr. John Keung. So, John, can you hear us?
Yes,
Yeah. Can I ask you to share your views, your profound experience, how in Hong Kong we can better engage the building owners and developers for more and more accelerated MIC adoption, please?
Okay, I must say that after hearing everybody speaking during this conference, the journey is really very similar to ours. Many of those issues that you raised just now are exactly what we have faced in the past. So this particular project on the screen, I'm not going to say any more because Alan Dunn just now has given you a very good overview on the challenges in this project. What I want to say is that just like developers in Hong Kong, I mean private developer, residential project, most of the time they're not very forthcoming to try anything that is out of the ordinary. So we really, at that time, we were trying to find a way to kickstart this whole thing. So I think all of you know that Singapore sells a lot of land for residential development, just like, Hong Kong. So we decided that instead of waiting for somebody to move, we impose a tender condition on our government land sale for private residential projects since 2014, which is about 6-7 years ago. And I must say that by now, if you look at all those sites we have sold since 2014, about 90% of them with this condition to go for PPVC in our terminology or MIC in your case. So in that sense, we have moved the needle a little bit. But I must also say that the private sector also supply their own land for residential development. And for this group, I must say that the bulk of them are not yet moving in this MIC direction. So I always told them that one thing we fail to do here in Singapore is to provide GFA concession, like what Hong Kong has done. So I think it is a good move by the Hong Kong government to provide this GFA, 6% GFA concession. I mean, it does help allay some of the concern by private developers and private landowner. I really hope that this will do the trick in the case of Hong Kong. I mean, if you still think that the private developers are not moving fast enough, another way, of course, is to impose a tender condition to get them to move in this direction. I suppose overall, other than this concrete PPVC project, super high rise and so on, we are also looking at other DFMA project, which is in my next slide. This is a huge academic building by the Nanyang Technological University. I believe it is about 50,000 square meters in size. It is about to be completed. It is using mass-engineered timber as part of the structure, as well as the wall, the slabs, and so on and so forth. And I believe it's probably one of the biggest timber building in Asia, if not the world. And I believe that it is again one of the very productive way to go forward. Of course, I mean it also is really very sustainable in the sense that this project is like a carbon sink. You know, all your CO2 are trapped in this timber, and it is I must say one of the better project done by our university in this part of the world. We classify this as part of our TFMA account. The next one I want to look at is the BCA Academy's own redevelopment project. Can I have the next slide? Yes, this is similar size project, about 50,000 square meters. There are two buildings here. One is a low-rise, 7-story mass engineered timber building, very similar to the NTU timber building I talked about just now. But the only key difference is we want this 7-story building, which houses our classroom, offices, etc., just like any other normal academic building, to achieve net zero energy. Of course, in our case, we are using solar to provide the energy source as one of the renewables. The taller building is a PPVC or MIC building primarily. And again, I mean, other than that, the other key difference in this building is that we wanted to achieve super low energy for high-rise, I think 16 or 18-story building. And this building is supposed to be better than the best-in-class green building in Singapore, achieving hopefully 50-60% higher energy efficiency compared to a normal building. So this is another such a project we have under the TFMA framework. The last slide here I want to show is this data center building. I know Hong Kong seems to be also very keen to do modular MEP. I think you've got MiMEP. We are similarly interested in this project. Although at this point in time, we are still in a very early stage to push for MiMEP. But this one particular project that has achieved quite significant proportion of the building covered by MiMEP. And I believe there's one question raised to me by CIC colleagues earlier that for MiMEP type of building, how do we classify them? I think you guys probably know very well that in our case, when we consider a building which is MIC or PPVC here, is that at least 65% of the floor area is built using PPVC. So for MiMEP building, we set a minimum of 50%, 50, of the floor area, making good use of this MiMEP system. But as I said, it is still very early stage. We have quite a long way to go to really push this to the next higher level. I think I'll stop here for a while.
Okay, thanks, John. Every time we hear from you, we feel more encouraged and motivated. Thanks. You mentioned the MiMEP. Actually, sitting next to me is an author of the forthcoming CSC publication on MiMEP guidebook. So, CK, if I can invite you to briefly talk about this guidebook, please.
Thank you, Professor Wei Pet. Actually, we have good stories about the benefits and the challenges for TFMA application onto MIC. Very good speaker today. It's okay? Yeah. Yes, I repeat again. In this afternoon, you have heard a lot of discussion from the good speakers on the benefits and challenges to MIC. Actually, all these are applicable to the MEP, which are fragmented in nature and always, though it is not the bigger piece of the project, but it creates a lot of problem, particularly at the commission stage. So it's very critical to fix all this up. Luckily, all the benefits of the DFMA onto MIC are applicable to NEP. So I try to overlay the principle you heard before onto MEP to see, to explain and to give an answer to the question, right? If you overlay all the benefits onto NEP, you can easily see the same effect for waste control, safety, health, improve the quality, and ensure the time certainty. You certainly don't like the maxi installation on the left, but you like to use your BIM to plan properly to get the good result on the right-hand side to start with. Next. But on the other hand, you need a holistic and structured approach of DFMA, which is philosophy to support both MIC and MIMEP. It was well explained in the booklet from RIBA in 2016 when they overlaid the DFMA onto panel works. They put the consideration of manufacturer assembly upfront in the design stage to enhance the maximization of offsite manufacture, to offer a just-in-time delivery, to reduce the site work and also make it safer to build. And the most last but not the least is to take care of the lifelong facility. But to do this, you need a very strong leadership and a good culture to support this, to manage the project, to manage supply chain, to manage design change management, innovation, and particularly collaboration between on-site and off-site, because you need very close and tight-fit collaboration among all the stakeholders. Luckily, we got a lot of digital tools today, starting with the digital twins offered by BIM. On the other hand, you got many choices because there's so many different MEP trades there, starting from components to advanced assembly for MEP only, and then to fully integrated with other non-MEP items. If you extend this choice, you can apply to like what the other speaker have been talking about, like operating theater, negative pressure walls. All this you can classify under MEP because the rich content of the MEP elements and the problem they created. And basically the dream is to, like Biden said, we need to cover all this into a platforms. By doing that, you can change our own industry, which is heavily labor-intensive, into digital, modernized, manufacturer-based industrialization with all the digital tools to provide a streamlined operation to make it build your house like people build cars. For the car business, they use a common chassis, a common platform as a platform design, and then overlay with a lot of different non-standard items to beautify it, to satisfy the demands from various customers. Equally, if you apply the same theory onto MEP, they're the same. If you can put the major power room, the major digital services, and all the other major items as the common core element, and then fully integrated with the other component to satisfy the need of everyone. But to do this, to make the right choice, you need to make a decision among some factors. Some factors are driving because they offer benefits like in cost, in time, in quality, in appearance, in sustainability, particularly for carbon neutrality, which we try to do by 2050, and health and safety, which is the most important element in the consumer industry, and as well as overall productivity. But you need to face the constraint for your project, like say site constraint for space, for accessibility, for neighborhood, for available workforces, and also for the process, how you manage the design in limited time, manage change management, like early design phase, and like you manage how you work together with supply chain. In parallel, you're also subject to your own procurement constraint based on your corporate policy, choice of tenderer, weight cost against other values, and that sort of things. That is why you need a strong leadership and good culture to do it. On the other hand, if you can do it right, you will be highly rewarded in this beautiful journey. Luckily, we got a lot of digital tools in hand, like the BIM, like sensing technology, to ensure we can maximize the standardization and on-site, off-site, and minimize the site work on-site, so that you can maximize a manufacture of the cost-effective and quality manufacture with all the support by robotic, AI, automation, and also minimize the work inside, make it mechanized and better and safer. But in parallel, there are challenges over there, as explained by many speakers today, this afternoon, like the collaboration between on-site and off-site, about the redefinition of demarcation of responsibility, because you change a lot of things from on-site into off-site. And you need to have a good QC control, a good just-in-time delivery, a good management for access space control on-site. Of course, you also need to take care of the statutory changes when you need to produce things across the border. So, opportunity which all come together, so you need a strong leadership and culture to manage it. Next one. Most of the time, the earliest planning is very important because it's related to architectural planning with good logistic consideration to make sure your bulky equipment can be delivered properly. For example, if the architectural planning is a longitudinal, is a rectangular site, most likely the equipment can be mounted on the perimeter to enable the delivery. Or for high-rise building, for one of the building I did before, 20 years ago for One Island East for SWI, which is probably the earliest BIM project. Though they're high-level building, but luckily every 25 floor you got a backfill floor and mechanical floor, so that you can use that for horizontal delivery and use all the staff like air handling room, meter room as a hoist. So to solve your delivery problem, most of the time the logistic is a great concern in all this because the bulky and the volume and the weight. And the second method to concern is the coordination with structure to get the space, to get the structure support for both operation need and also transitional need, transportation need, because you need to hoist up heavy equipment. For MEP planning, you need to plan your network, your plant room on the right location to maximize the standardization, the easy delivery. Of course, in parallel, you need some flexible financial planning to do that, to take care of all the, to get the best benefit out of these challenges. For the MEP models itself, you need to consider a lot of factors, like the future expansion, the future allowance for replacement, accessibility, collection detail, time dependency, space for future access, support, fire safety, water leakage, and building tolerance, flexibility, things like that. There are lots of things like that, but there are lots of guidebooks in the market, like what have been delivered by BC Academy from Dr. Gao, and also maybe the new forthcoming guidebook from CIC, which have been produced by a lot of help from the stakeholders. I hope actually the guidebook themselves contain all the content I just explained, and actually there are a lot more detail along the framework of our IBA panel work for the detail for the subsequent stages. I hope it will be helpful for you in your beautiful, rewarding journey. Thank you.
Oh, thanks to CK. Well, so we look forward to that guidebook. And now, since we have heard about the modularity, the different sophistication of building services and all of this for different building projects. So can I invite Frankie just to very briefly talk about, how we should set up some criteria to identify the level of MIC, for example, in your case, for public housing?
Well, broadly, in fact, I can quickly think of about is the percentage of the on-site and off-site members for fabrication. That would be quickly start as one. The other one probably would be the level of standardization, whether in fact there are really elements of standardization already in the design, which in fact can engender the mass production with reduced number of modules or reduced number of standard elements. That would then be also another yardstick for us to measure whether in fact a project is in fact DFMA enabled or MIC enabled. Of course, there are other algorithms or other quantitative measurements that can in fact be elaborated in detail, but of course, say for example, in situ concrete per meter square or the other labor involvement per floor, in fact, or other quantitative measurements as such. But of course, that could be established by depending on what angle you are cutting in, really.
Well, thanks, Frankie. Probably that's a natural flow to Ben in terms of the URA type of a project, private project, or you're talking in the high end of the market. What kind of a criteria would you like to see for defining the levels?
Well, for private residential projects, I don't think we really need to set a line for the level of MIC. The private developers will do whatever that is the best for the project. But if we really want to set a preference for what is a MIC project, I think about 50% of the construction would be quite a good guideline.
Okay, that's great. So, John, and I would like to come back to you again, and how Singapore sets the criteria for the level of a DFMA or a PPVC identification, please.
Can I just give you some background first? Although picking a number percentage is the easy part, 65% in our case, for a project to qualify as MIC. But you guys probably know that in our legislation, the building control legislation, we have two systems. They are related, of course. One is what we call buildability score. I think this is to get the consultant, architect, engineer to come together to make sure that they achieve a minimum level of buildability in their design. So related to this is another scoring system we call constructability. This is for the contractors and his subcon and so on and so forth. The whole point is that while the consultant as the designer may give you a very buildable design, but the contractor can have many ways to mess it up. So we also make sure that the contractor and his subcontractor would come together to find the most labor-saving method to build whatever is designed by the consultant. So within this context, we set certain minimum level for DFMA project, particularly the PPVC or MIC type of project. So, I mean, over the years, we really have very little major problem to go beyond 65% as the bare minimum for all the MIC project in Singapore. And indeed, some of them are going beyond that minimum. And it seems that they have reported quite a bit of additional saving in time and cost. So this, I guess, is just a general framework I want to explain to all of you. When I talk about MEP just now, we really, as I said, in a very early stage of our development in this area. So today we have, under this buildability score framework, set 50% minimum as the floor, as the bare minimum for a project to qualify as MiMEP. And of course, if you can do that, you will score much higher in your buildability score requirement. So these are the kind of things we set under our legislation to, I suppose, set the floor for projects to make sure that they are buildable, they are constructible, whether you are doing PPVC, MIC, or other form of DFMA. That's how we look at this whole issue of quantifying certain requirement before you can consider anything as DFMA or PPVC or MIC. So that's the way we are approaching it now. And of course, over the years, I think our industry has been making a lot of remarks saying that why every 1-2 years you raise your buildability score to make it more difficult to achieve that minimum requirement, because it's legislation. So if you don't meet that minimum requirement, your project won't be approved.
Yep. So thanks, John. John, just hang on there. You know, today we have heard a lot about productivity, quality, and earlier we have heard about the energy performance, even the carbon neutrality. Now it's becoming a sweeping agenda globally, right? So how, John, if I can ask you, how in Singapore you blend all of this performance measured in terms of you have a B score, a buildability, you have a C score, constructability, you have congruence, and all of this quality, safety. How you systematically blend all of this performance measured and reflect in the tendering, in the commercial terms. Can you share with us, please? And the other panel members may supplement afterwards, please. John, please.
Okay, I suppose we talked quite a bit about productivity. On quality, again, I just want to set the context. I think probably a lot of people know about our CONQUAS, Construction Quality Assessment System, that apply to almost all projects in Singapore. And you need to meet certain minimum requirement as a result. And of course, if you go beyond that requirement for public sector project and some private sector project, you got a cash bonus. So that, I suppose, would help the team to do better. But for private residential project in particular, because I'm sure all of us know that when people are paying so much for their apartment unit, the demand on quality is extremely, extremely high. So we have a modified system from CONQUAS. We call quality mark. So all residential projects would have to meet this quality mark requirement. And there are various levels of quality mark that you can achieve. And unlike CONQUAS, when we do the assessment, it is a sample assessment. 25%, whatever percentage of unit, we go and check and then give a score. But for quality mark, for private residential project, it is 100% check. And it is by my colleagues in BCA. So it is a fairly objective third party, you can say, to look at quality, between the buyer and the developer. So I suppose here I must say that for MIC or PPVC project, they have to meet the same quality mark standard. And I believe in terms of achievement, by and large, they are better than other non-MIC type of projects. So over here, I suppose you got to look at quality of MIC or PPVC project in Singapore within this context. And I don't think I need to say too much about sustainability. I think all you guys know that we have our own green mark Green Mark standard, and it is also a legislated requirement as far as the minimum, the floor, is concerned. And of course, if you achieve a high level of green building certification, you get some benefit like GFA concession, etc., etc. So that's how we, I suppose, make good use of legislation to set the floor, the basic requirement that has to be made. And then we use incentive to incentivize, to encourage owners and developers to go beyond the minimum. And that's the way we have been approaching this for a long time. And I think all of you have heard me said before, this is a carrot and stick approach that we have been taking to drive many of these changes in the industry.
Okay, thanks a lot, John. And Frankie and Ben, would you like to supplement very, very briefly on the MIC performance measurement and the dynamics complication?
About the quality of the MIC, I want to follow up on John's comment. I think MIC has a really better chance to achieve a good quality for our residential projects because it is in a factory environment, and all this craftsmanship can be better controlled, and also the QC/QA system can be better controlled as if it is just like a normal manufacturing system.
Frankie, please.
In fact, I remember in fact seeing a draft consultation paper from the Development Bureau some 4 years ago, in fact, about the variability scoring system. In fact, we say measurement of the 3S, about the standardization, the simplification, and also the single element of integration and so on. Of course, accurate, there are quite a lot in detail, in fact, resembling what John has mentioned, but of course, that would be the way to go. Of course, that said, of course, there is, I would say, a lot of hurdles to come to go through and to overcome, because there could be some rebounds from the industry, and of course, this consultation period, I don't know what happened to that afterwards, but still, that would be probably the way to go.
Okay, thanks, Frankie and Ben. And last but not the least, CK, you have a few slides to share with us some of the thoughts.
I'll try to finish with 1 minute.
Okay, good, please.
Actually, as an MEP engineers, I cannot give you a solution, but I just want to spell out what I expect as a stakeholder. I think the measurement need to be manifold to quantify the benefits against the KPI as suggested by Professor Peng, to lead the direction for the industry transformation, to reward the for fast runner, and also to nurture the growth by incentive, by statutory control like what John just explained. Actually, it helps to offer the priority onto the KPIs, right? The second one. As far as I know, there are 2 ways of measurement. One is pre-manufacture value with the cost ratio for offsite element against the total cost, either qualitative, high, medium, low. And on the other hand, to offer study support, we say using a buildability score. We want something more, which is the public combination of these 2 against the KPIs. When you look in the buildability score, actually, I just try to explain, it's not once off. Next page, please. Okay, when I read the buildability score evolution for MEP, I'm very glad they put more and more element onto MEP. When you read from 2015, 2017, 2019, which has well explained by Dr. Ge, so it's a moving target. We need to build a long-term database after we have a consensus on how to measure against what, and then to help the industry to grow. That is my own expectation as MEP engineer. Thank you.
That's excellent. I think that's very systematic, comprehensive panel discussion about MIC levels, modularity, and performance measurement in different methodologies. So can I invite all of you to give applause to all of the panel members, please. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for the fruitful sharing and the discussion. Please be seated. And also, let's put our hands together to all of our honorable guest speakers today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time to conclude all the sharing session today. Today, we have the sharing of different kinds of MIC projects. If you are going to start a MIC project, you might be interested on the Construction Innovation and Technology Fund to encourage a wide adoption of innovative constructive industry. The CIC is commissioned by the Development Bureau to be the implementation partner of the CITF with an approved allocation of 1 billion Hong Kong dollars in 2018. And up till now, there are 44 MIC projects have been approved with the amount of over 96 million Hong Kong dollars. You may also find more information at the booth outside the conference room. And last but not least, I would like to invite Engineer Kenneth Mo, Chairperson of Joint Working Group on Modular Integrated Construction Industry Council, to deliver the closing remarks. Engineer Mo, please.
I know it has been a very long afternoon, but before I utter my closing remarks, which will be bound to be boring, perhaps I will say a few extra comments. Comment number one, as in regard to private sector MIC, I would like to draw your attention to the Hong Kong U staff quarters floor plan. Actually, I would regard it as the first-rate private sector. Even if applied to the private sector for sale housing, the Hong Kong U staff quarter floor plan is really good. I would draw your attention to it. Secondly, as to users' response, what we gather from the staff quarters, Parking Court, and also InnoCell, the users has been giving brave remarks, no complaints whatsoever as to quality. Yeah. Thirdly, I would like to market a bit. If you are interested in MIC materials, I will draw your attention to the QR code at the back of this. Yeah, please bring this home. Dear speakers and friends, today has been deeply a wonderful gathering of bright minds and souls. So rightly pointed out, MIC is and has to be our key construction initiative for Hong Kong as an actively developing society. Well, it offers, but the passing of 4 years since the 2017 policy address, we have seen completion of MIC dominant projects to the worth of more than $10 billion. Obviously, some of this has been due to the quarantine business, which is quite a bit of a surprise, but it still is a very sizable achievement made possible by project owners, by government departments, consultants, contractors, and also suppliers and the labor force in total. Well, all these projects has been completed with good safety records, with good cost records, and with very good cost remarks. In the pipeline, as you have seen, there is still a long list of MIC projects under construction, also on the drawing board. For this is yet only MIC's initiate phase. We will see MIC in Hong Kong being launched quicker and further. And in 3 years' time, maybe 4 years' time, I think we will be seeing more MIC models being transported over the streets of Hong Kong. With this vision, we thank you all for coming today and wish you good luck and wish you to propagate MIC to the best of your knowledge. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Engineer Mo. Please be seated. This brings us to the end of today's conference. We hope you guys enjoyed the sessions today. See you next time and have a good day. Goodbye.